Hello everyone, and welcome to the Fictional Vortex. So we are back with an interesting movie on what if Naruto awakens the unbelievable bloodline in Kohona. But before we start, I just want to remind you to please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button if you enjoy my content. Let's start the story. Naruto couldn't believe he was stuck with the closet pervert for a teacher. "He'll teach you better than I could," the blonde-haired boy mimicked under his breath. "Yeah, right. Kakashi-sensei was just a lazy ass that had decided to train Sasuke. Just because Sasuke had a bloodline that he could train didn't mean that Teme was better than Naruto." "Pay attention, brat, Ebisu," the said closet pervert yelled. The words echoed off of the wooded walls of the hot springs. Naruto winced at the loud ringing that resulted from it. "You know what, you don't have to train me. I know that you don't want to train me. After all, what's the point in training the demon?" Naruto sneered at the sputtering trainer. "You know what, I can train myself. I've been do fine for the past, I don't know, 12 years, Naruto snapped. "As a matter of fact, that's exactly what I'm going to do." With that he marched off. Naruto's feet carried him back to his apartment. He immediately began packing. He was leaving. "Brat, what the hell do you think you're doing? You realize that leaving won't change anything. They'll just go and get you." Naruto smirked when he heard Kubi's voice in his head. The boy and Fox had long since made their peace with each other. Though, Kubi still liked to torment him. "No, they won't. Especially if they find a note saying that I've gone training and I'll be back in a month. If I say that I'm training in the forest, then they won't even think about it. I disappear in there all the time." Kubi purred at him. "Now that's the creative mind I helped create." Naruto laughed out loud at this. Yes, Kubi was more of a father than a demon to Naruto. Kubi liked playing with the boy. When Naruto was younger, he would run off and play in the forest. It was more of a home to him than his apartment. It stopped him from being beaten all of the time. Kubi would leave the kid's body and watch over him. Naruto never knew that the fox that watched and played with him when he was young was in fact the demon that resided in him. Kubi still did that when the kid would take walks in the forest, to clear his troubled mind. Naruto had suspicions that the fox was in fact Kubi now that he was older, but he wasn't overly concerned about it. Naruto packed his scrolls, ninja gear, first aid kit, and some ramen. The blonde sealed all of it in a scroll and put it in a side pocket. He would pick up the rest of his things from a friend. Naruto wrote a note, taped it to his front door, locked the said door, and was gone before the sun had set. No one checked on the empty apartment. Until the next day, around noon. Iruka came by to see if Naruto wanted to go get some ramen. Kakashi and Sasuke walked with him to tell Naruto that they would be out of touch for the month. Sakura was with them in hopes of getting a date from Sasuke. They were surprised at the note. "Everyone, I'm off training in the forest for a month. Don't bother to come get me. You could look in the same clearing that I'm standing in and not find me. Sasuke, you had better train while I'm gone. Sakura, you too. Kakashi, don't come and check on me. I won't be using Chara. Not that you'll bother, after all your training Teme. Iruka, look after my apartment please. Tell old man that I left and not to worry. I'll make sure to keep my food supplies stocked. And I promise to get at least 5 hours of sleep at night. Oh, and to the vandalizers, I don't have anything to vandalize. Except my bed and my kitchen. In the kitchen, there is no food or whatnot in there. See you all in a month." Naruto, that little moron, Sasuke sighed. Why can't he just stay in one place for a while? He was like a 5-year-old on sugar. Not that he wasn't adorable while at it. The dark-haired boy was somewhat amused at this thought. He had long since discovered that he was gay. "Well, there goes any thought of restoring my clan." Sasuke smirked at this. He wasn't really upset about it at all. Iruka was in perfect agreement with Sasuke. Naruto was a moron. If he thought that Iruka wasn't going to worry, he had another thing coming. The Chunin would worry about Naruto until the boy was 80, old, decrepit, and he himself was dead. Sakura didn't mind that Naruto had left at all. It gave her more time to be with Sasuke. Maybe she could cure him of his disease. Oh, she knew he was gay, and that he liked Naruto, but she was going to give it a shot. Hopefully, she could get him to turn bi. "Sasuke, want to go on a date with me?" "No," the pink-haired girl deflated as she watched Sasuke walk away. Their sensei turned and joined him. Kakashi was surprised that Naruto told him not to check on him and winced at mention of him not bothering to. He normally would have told Kakashi to look in on him so to let Iruka know that he was okay. Well, he'd go and check on Naruto now and then anyway. He did care about the golden-colored boy. It was just that he was the only person that could train Sasuke in using the Sharingan. They all turned and went their respectable ways, never realizing that in a blink of an eye, they let Naruto leave their world and would enter a world where he would be happy, never knowing he would bring them with him. Everyone, including the village. Will they or nil they? That is no one realized, except one. One old man that lived through many wars and the fox demon attack. One man, who incidentally, happened to like Naruto, and knew where he was going. Of course this was because Naruto told him on his way out, that he was leaving. Talking to this old man was hard to do. Not because the man hated people, which was true, but because of where the old man lived. He lived in a wall. What do you think? I just rewrote some things and expanded in places. Nita Ice Old Man Ray always was a grumpy man, even before he made the decision to move into the Kohona wall. Why he moved in there, nobody exactly knew. Nobody alive at any rate. He wasn't a social person. He would only talk to someone if and when he wanted to, which wasn't every often. Naruto had always liked to talk to him when the villagers got too friendly with their angry side. He also hid there on his birthday, when the villagers come hunting him. Of course when Old Man Ray heard the faint yells that first time, years ago, he knew what was happening, though he didn't know that he would have a hand in saving the goddamn brat. Goddamn it, what the hell is that noise? Old Man Ray moved to the window of his living space. He pressed the knob to unlock the window and pushed a stone in the wall. The stone swung open to reveal a window-sized hole in the Kohona wall. He stuck his head out to see what the big commotion was. I'm going to refer to him as Ray from now on. I really don't like typing all of that junk out. Plus I have another guy that I need to call Old Man later. What he saw was the adult villagers gathering, many with kunai and katanas in their hands. Others had spears, shuriken, or just as prepared. Oh, wonderful. Hunting season had started, for today only. The hunting of one Uzumaki Naruto. Damn it, why can't they just leave the poor boy alone? He's never done anything to anyone. He's as innocent as anyone in this. He just wants some good attention from people. Not this crap he gets. He took a deep breath, set his eyes in an ugly glare, then set his face in a stony expression. Shut up already. Can't you people see some of us are trying to take a nap here? He bellowed at them. Everyone looked at him, then flushed with embarrassment. They quickly moved to go look for their prey. Ray went back in and was about to close the window when he heard a noise that suspiciously sounded like a whimper. He stuck his head back out the window. He looked around for the source of the sound. He found it hiding behind some bushes near the bottom of BBing quietly. His head resting on top of his knees, was Naruto. He was covered in dust, with tear streaks running down his face. His clothes were oversized and looked as if he found them in a garbage can. They were poorly patched together and in some serious need of a washing. The kid was a mess and in need of some serious help. Since nobody else was going to help the little one, he was going to have to. He just need to get him inside. Ray glanced around to see if everyone was gone. They were. With lightning-fast reflexes that shouldn't belong to a man his age, but showed that he still kept up with his shinobi skills, he grabbed Naruto, had placed him on top of the table in his living room, and had closed the window before the kid could even register that he had been snatched up. Now that Ray had a better look at the boy, he saw that Naruto was sickly pale and unhealthily thin. He also looked like a raccoon, with those deep bags under his eyes. Right, first thing was to make the kid less afraid of him. Then give him a bath, get some food in his stomach, and have him take a nap. Then they could talk about things. Naruto is 5 years old here. I changed the age as I took another look at what I was doing and saying further in the story. It wouldn't have worked if he was 3 when this took place. Being 5 makes more sense. My niece is that age, and while I would hope and pray she would never have to take care of herself, she can bathe alone for the most part. Relax, kid, I'm not going to hurt you, the older man said softly as the blonde-haired child cowered away from him. I'm called Ray. I know who you are, and I know why everyone seems to hate you. I also don't care. You're a nice kid from what I've seen. So I'll make you a deal. You don't tell anyone that I'm being nice to you. I'll give you a place to hide from the villagers. Deal?" Naruto just nodded. Too shocked to talk. Here was an adult that was saying that he could hide here when he really needed to, without any extra attachments. He liked this man. But why would he do it? Why? Ray chuckled gently. He smiled at the boy. At last, he speaks. "I was thinking that you didn't know how to, little one. Well, to answer your question, I don't see any reason to be hurt you or to hate you. I mean you a kid. You haven't done anything to deserve it." Ray grinned at the kid. "Well, off that subject, you need a bath, some food, and a nap. Bath first, though. Here I'll show you where the bathroom is and fill the tub for you. While you bathe, I'll find some clothes for you to wear and make some food." Naruto slipped off the table and followed Ray through the living room to the bathroom. The bathroom was very old looking. The tub was at least 40 years old, if Naruto had to guess. The sink was matching the tub. The towel rack was worn and looked about ready to break apart. The only thing that looked new was the water pipes. Ray moved to the tub and turned on the water. Then when the tub was a fourth of the way full, he got a towel from the rack, placed it next to the tub. "Okay, you should be set. Shampoo and conditioner are on the ledge, soap in the tub. The washcloth is on the tap. Do you need any help?" Ray asked in the nicest, yet most unperverted voice possible. "Do you have a stool that I could stand on to get in the tub?" Naruto asked timidly, not wanting to press his luck at having someone who cared. In answer, Ray left the bathroom, then came back a few seconds later, carrying a wooden stool. "There. All set." With that he left, closing the door behind him. Naruto was happy to get a chance to be clean again. He quickly stripped down and climbed on the stool, then into the tub. The water was warm. It felt nice, after having only cold ones for the 2 years that he had to take care of himself. The water company had decided that he didn't need hot water, now that he didn't have a caretaker. Ray went through his son's old kid clothes and found some that looked like that they would fit Naruto. He placed them next to the bathroom door. Then he moved to the kitchen. Ray commenced in making miso ramen. He was thinking about how much the kid needed help. Poor kid, he really needed a parental figure in his life. A noise told him that Naruto was behind him. What that didn't tell him was that Naruto was going to hug him. When the small, thin arms wrapped around his legs, Ray was surprised to say the least. He looked down to see Naruto's shoulders shaking slightly and the little tyke crying into his legs. "Naruto, are you alright?" Ray carefully removed Naruto's arms, then turned and knelt down. What he saw was, scary was to tame, horrifying. Earlier he hadn't noticed Naruto's eyes, how dead they looked. They were eyes of a doll. And those eyes were now leaking tears. He gathered Naruto to his chest and rocked the child back and forth. The fox vessel cried into his chest, silently and without movement. Practice. Hiding then crying in secret. Lord, those villagers need to be beaten to a bloody pulp. To hurt a child into hiding his tears is a crime that even the Kubi wouldn't even do. Slowly the tears stopped. Naruto pulled back enough so that Ray could grab a tissue and give it to him. After Naruto had cleaned himself up, Ray picked him up and placed him in a chair at the small table. Distraction time. Ray then grabbed 2 bowls, filled them with ramen, and placed one in front of Naruto. Ray then got some chopsticks, sat down across from Naruto, and gave one set to him. "Don't eat it too fast, or you'll get sick," Ray warned him. Naruto nodded and took his first ever bite of ramen. His face flashed so many expressions that Ray had to laugh. "Never had ramen before, huh? Good stuff. So unhealthy for you. It's guaranteed to make you fat, or in your case, a healthy weight." Ray was all ready to tell him that he would teach him how to make it, when he noticed that the kid's bowl was empty. "Damn, that was fast. Slow down so you don't become ill, okay? Do you want more?" Naruto nodded slowly. Ray served him a bigger serving this time. It was gone in less than a minute. "Wow, that kid sure can eat. And he kept it down, too. I'm thinking that I just made a ramen fanatic." Naruto pushed his bowl away and placed his eating utensils on top. He was full. He had never been full before. It felt nice. He was also sleepy now. Tired? Ray had noticed that he had been blinking to keep himself awake. He nodded. Ray took the bowls and placed them on the counter. He then picked Naruto up. The blonde-haired child stiffened slightly. Ray rubbed his back gently and carried him to the living room. He placed him on the sofa and went to get some blankets and pillows. When he came back, he found that Naruto had fallen asleep already. He also noticed that the kid wasn't completely relaxed. It was like he expected to be attacked in his sleep. Which is most likely true, given the way the villagers act. Bastards. Can't they see that he didn't do anything? As he continued his mental rant at the so-called friendly and welcoming villagers, he placed a pillow under Naruto's head, one on the floor next to him, and on behind him. These were safety precautions, in case he decided to roll off the sofa or to strike out to the side. Then Ray placed 2 blankets on Naruto. It got cold in the wall and he didn't want the kid getting sick. Sitting in his grandfather's old chair, he surveyed the scene before him. The kid did look more at home now, clean, dressed, and fed, than when he first was pulled in here. And he does look a lot like, no, do not think about that now. You have a kid here that needs your help. And you will help him, to the best of your ability. With that final thought he drifted off to sleep. When Naruto and Ray woke up later, Naruto asked why the villagers hated him. Ray told him that he wasn't a demon. The villagers were just stupid. Ray promised that any time that Naruto needed a place to hide or needed some company, he could come to Ray's. Naruto agreed and promised not to tell that Ray was helping him. That morning, when Naruto stopped by, Ray thought it was just his usual visit that ate free time. When Naruto told him about the disastrous training session, he was laughing hysterically of Naruto's antics and comebacks to Ebisu's comments. When Naruto told him that he was leaving for a month, he was sad and disappointed that Naruto was leaving, but he couldn't say he wasn't expecting it. In fact, he was expecting it to happen earlier. Sitting in his chair, now, thinking about it, he believed that it's the best thing that Naruto could have done. For him and for his teammates. They need some time apart to get their priorities in line. I'm leaving the village today to go train. I can't learn anything here with the way people treat me. My teammates and sensei especially. They don't treat me with respect, even if I do. They treat me like I'm not even worth their time. I hate it. I really do, the Fox vessel explained. Well, I can't blame you, Ray agreed. I've seen the way they treat you. They really don't deserve you as a teammate. Sakura needs to learn that there are other boys out there. Sasuke needs to see that there are other people in the world. He has promise though. He sees you as a rival and a friend, if him jumping in front of you to take those needles is any indication. Naruto shrugged. I guess. I really don't get him. He says that I'm his rival, yet he doesn't act like it. He doesn't act like a friend, but he seems to know when I need to vent and when I need to be alone. Not even Iruka could tell, even if I had a little bit of Kubi, rage in my eyes. But Sasuke can. Well, that's a good start, the older man smiled. He held out a backpack. I had this set up for you. It's full of camping stuff. Head out already, before you change your mind. Alright. I'm going. Naruto grabbed the bag and was out of there before Ray could scold him. Ray shook his head. He's going to get himself killed one of these days. I might just do it myself, the nutcase. Ray went to go get himself some coffee. End of flashback. Now that Ray thought about it, Sasuke did know more about Naruto than the others did. Not enough to understand him, but enough to tell when he needs help and when he doesn't. It was helpful to Naruto, to do those things. It let him get used to other people, friends maybe. The kid really needed to let more precious people in his heart. He had a total of 3 people that Ray knew of that got that far into his heart. Iruka, the third, and himself. Well, now that I think about it, the fox could have gotten in there too. Naruto did say something about making peace with the furball. Well, if something happens to any of us, Naruto has at least one pillar that he can rely on so he won't go insane. Which is most likely to happen sooner or later. With the way the villagers treat him, he will end up going over the edge and they will have only themselves to blame. Well, good luck, Naruto, Ray whispered into the wind, looking through one of the opens he had installed throughout the wall. You're going to need it. At that moment, Naruto could have cared less what anyone else was thinking or saying at that moment. He was more worried about the group of ninja that had decided that if he had walked into their village that he was an enemy. He was currently dodging kunai, shuriken and katanas being thrown at him, while yelling over his shoulder that he didn't do anything. What is your guys' problem? I haven't done anything. I just got here. What could I possibly have done 2 seconds into a village that warrants being killed? He ran behind a tree. He heard the thunks of the weapons hitting it. Then he heard a very welcomed yell. What is going on here? Stop, a voice yelled out. Naruto glanced around the tree. There was an older man in robes similar to the one that Hokages wore in his village. He had green eyes, a full, brown but graying, set of hair. He seemed like a very nice man, but he didn't look like it right now, not the way he was glaring at his troops. Well? The man demanded. I'm waiting for an explanation as to why you're attacking a visitor to our village with no reason to. I know I didn't train you to attack innocents. One ninja stepped forward. Sir, he has a ninja headband and he came in here fairly quick. He didn't even check in with the guards at the gate. We figure that he was a spy. The leader of the village sighed. Did you think to stop him and ask if he even knew that there was a gate, since the gate, and the wall for that matter, isn't even repaired yet? He asked, gesturing to a rather large pile of wood by what looked like a pile of stone blocks. The ninjas looked down guiltily and shook their heads. You're dismissed then. The troop puffed out. Naruto came out of behind the tree. He walked over to the Hokage. Then he bowed. I'm very sorry to be of any inconvenience to you. He apologized. I didn't know there was a gate for me to check in at. They just appeared out of nowhere, and before I could ask what was wrong, they started throwing weapons at me. I thought I had done something wrong. The brunette smiled at him. And I apologize to you for my troops' actions. The man's voice was a light tenor that was very pleasant to hear. They will be talked to. Now what brings you here, small one? He asked, curious. The third doesn't need anything, I hope. I assume that the symbol on your headband means you're from the Leaf? No, the third doesn't need anything, and yes, I am from the Leaf. Naruto smiled up at the man. I'm training myself to get ready for the third part of the Chunin exams. I came to train myself in different environments. I just stopped in here to get some food. Well, welcome to Hidden Lightning Village. If you need any help with training, let me know. Oh, by the way, what's your name? I don't think calling you kid all the time would be very nice. Mine is Son Vergen, the fourth Raikage. Thank you. If I do need help, I'll ask, and my name is Uzumaki. Naruto. The fourth Raikage started and backed up a step. Naruto noted him doing so, flinched, and sighed. Great. You hate me for no reason, too. Now, that caught the Raikage by surprise. Even more surprising was the slight lack of life in Naruto's eyes as he said it. It was like the kid was hiding his emotions without even having any present in the first case. I don't hate you. Vergen hastened to reassure him. You just startled me. I didn't expect to meet you at this stage of your life. Actually, I wanted to meet you and tell your villagers off for being afraid of you. I know you're the vessel and all, but you're not the demon itself. Vergen smiled at him. Naruto studied him for a moment, and then grinned. It seemed a little fake though. Thanks, the blonde child replied. I think that's nice, but it won't change anything. Well, if you don't need me anymore, I'll go get some food and be on my way. Well, I was wondering if you could indulge a whim of mine, the older man requested hesitantly. You see, I categorize and record bloodlines as a hobby. I was wondering if you would let me record any that you may have. It would make a great addition. Sorry, but I don't have one, and if I do, I have no knowledge of it. Naruto apologized. Vergen thought for a minute, then looked at Naruto. I know someone who can tell us if you have one for sure. Want to go see her? Alright. They walked through the village, stopping briefly to get Naruto some instant ramen, and came to the outskirts of town. There was an old cottage. It looked to be deserted. The Raikage walked up to the door and knocked. An older woman came to the door. Naruto got the impression that she took no nonsense from anybody. He also got the feeling that she was very nice to people when they deserved it. He liked her immediately. The Raikage looked a little bit uncomfortable when she turned her gaze to him. A.N. Naruto had eaten his ramen and had thrown the carton in a trash can before then. And thank you General Selena for the woman's name. I couldn't think of a good, seer's, name. Kiitoko. Nice to see you. Are you feeling well? He inquired politely. She nodded. Yes, Vergen, I am, she said. Her voice was a please tone was a little mocking. She didn't seem to talk much. Now why, may I ask, would you be visiting me when I know you have other, more important, things to be doing? And who is the young boy beside you? Gazing at her, Naruto saw some similarities between her and the Raikage. They both had brown hair, though Kyotoko's was more silver than brown. She also had green eyes. She was a little bit taller than Naruto and seemed to be very frail. But as he looked at her, he didn't fully believe that she was as frail as she looked. Pay attention here, this is an important part. Well, I'm here because of him and his name is Naruto. We're here to see if he has a bloodline, if it's convenient for you. What is your full name, Naruto? She asked, transferring her gaze to him. He closed his eyes and steeled himself for her hatred. Uzumaki Naruto, he stated flatly. He heard her give a startled gasp. Then he felt her give a measuring look up and down. He waited for her to tell him to go to hell. What she said instead surprised him. Easy, Kit. I don't think you're a monster. In fact, I think that you are a hero and a very nice boy from what I can see. Naruto's eyes snapped wide open at that point. Now, I do believe that you need to be tested for a bloodline. Come with me, both of you. She drew a shocked, staring Naruto and a very amused Raikage inside. The cottage was clean and well organized. There was an old worn sofa in the middle of the living area, a rocking chair in the corner next to the fireplace and in the far wall. Kyoto gestured for them to sit down on the sofa, telling them to relax and wait for a moment. Well, what do you think so far of her, Naruto? The brunette man asked, somewhat amused by the two of them. Naruto was staring down at his hands, and seemed to deep in thought. Naruto? You okay? You seem to be kind of sad. Virgin was concerned. Naruto was far more quiet than he was when he first came. In fact, it looked like he had lost the ability to talk. Virgin placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder. Naruto started, coming out of his trance. Huh? You okay? You went into some deep thinking and didn't hear me when I asked you what you thought of Kyoto, the Raikage said in a kindly tone. Naruto blinked. Oh, sorry. I was thinking that she seems very nice to me. Not many would tell me that I'm not a monster or demon. I can think of 3 people, now 5, counting you and her, that see me as a human. The rest made my pitiful excuse of a childhood and my life now a living hell. Is that so, my dear? You'll have to tell us the whole story when we're done. Kyoto's voice came from the doorway. They looked up as she walked back in with a tray of tea. She placed this on the table in front of them, but did not give them time to react. Naruto, please came with me. We will test for a bloodline now. Virgin, come too. I will need you to carry him when we are done. Follow me. They stood up and followed her as she turned and went through another door across the room. In this room, there were cushions in the middle and candles around that. The room was blue and had pictures of different families hanging on the walls. There were no windows. In the far corner there was a table with a pitcher of water on it. Virgin, stand by the door. You will be in the way with your bloodline active as it is. It will show up in my reading of Naruto if you are near. The Raikage nodded and stood, or rather leaned, on the wall next to the door. Naruto, take a seat on one of the cushions, she ordered. He sat down. Relax. I want to clear your mind of all thoughts and relax your muscles. Naruto closed his eyes and did as he was told, though one thought remained. Kubi. She needed to know which doors she could open and which ones will get her filleted. Oh, I won't hurt her. I would tell her that she doesn't need to be in my area of your mind. Kubi stated with a bit of cheerfulness. She is a person that even I respect. She takes energy and changes it from that to a form that will open or light up the channels of bloodlines. It takes a lot out her as well. Thanks, Kyubi. I had wondered how she determined if someone had a bloodline. I will tell her not to go in your doors. Kyoto-san. I need to tell you something before you go digging in my head. Stay away from the red-orange doors. And from the dark blue ones. The red-orange will take you to Kyubi and the others are the memories that my mind purposely locked away until I'm old enough to handle them. They're locked anyway. If you try to open them, you'll get knocked out for a week. Kyoto nodded. Thank you for warning me. And, please, just call me Kyoto. Now relax, she said as she sat down on a cushion across for him. He relaxed completely, or as completely as he could get. He never relaxed his muscles totally. He never could, since he was 2 and someone had tried to smother him in his bed. He always had his muscles tense to a certain point, even when relaxed. This won't hurt a bit. She concentrated for a moment, and he knew no more. Kyoto walked through the cold halls of Naruto's mind. His mind was the coldest mind she had ever been in, and the brightest. There was light everywhere, color as well. The doors in his mind were colored differently than everyone else. Theirs have bright colors for happy areas, and dull colors for unhappy areas. His had bright colors for better days, dull colors for worse days, and dark, almost black, colors for the days that were unholy, was the only way she could put it, quiet, disturbing. She walked for a while before she found the door she wanted. This was the only door that was silver in color, the same color of others with potential to have a bloodline. Not all of them had a bloodline, but some did. She opened the door to find energy, flowing like rivers, everywhere. Well, this is a surprise. I've only seen this once, and that was with a half-demon. Though, that was unorganized and chaotic. This is organized and flowing. Interesting, needs to be thought about later. Taking hold of the energy, she began to weave it, not unlike how she would weave on a loom. Once it was in the shape of a blanket, she changed the color from bright green to a bright blue by focusing her chakra into the weave. The light shining off of the blanket lit up 3 channels. Each channel was slightly open, except one. That one was halfway open. It was the biggest of the channels and seemed to be the one that will open to the fullest first. She looked to see what the channel's names were and what the line was before she changed the blanket's light back to green and unwove the energy into rivers again. She was going to enjoy telling Naruto the good news. She exited the room and moved to the doorway to her mind. She came back to the real world, tired, but happy with the results. Naruto is going to be very happy. Well, when he woke up, that is. She looked at Virgin. He stood up from the wall and walked over. Well? She smiled at the man's eagerness. You'll find out when Naruto wakes up. Not before. She chuckled when he pouted. She gestured for him to pick up Naruto. Turning to the door, she got up and walked out. Virgin trailing behind. Naruto was unconscious, but stirring. A first, as far as she knew. Nobody even woke up that fast after the test. In the living room, Virgin placed him, in a sitting position, on the sofa before sitting down next to him. Kyoto sat in a chair across from them and played Mother Will the tea. Just when she gave the fourth his tea, Naruto opened his eyes. He looked confused for a moment, and then his memories corrected themselves. He gazed at her as she handed him a teacup. Drink. It will help give you your strength back. It's a special tea, made to give a boost in healing headaches, memories loss, strength loss, and it is very good at getting rid of hangovers. Naruto grinned at her description of the tea. He took a sip. It tasted like mint, and had a cooling sensation as it went down. It wasn't ramen, but he could get used to it. Especially since the slight pounding in his head faded as he did so. What's in this? It did help get rid of my headache. I would like to be able to make this when I leave town. Kyoto smiled at the blonde vessel. I'll give you the recipe before you leave. Now I have some good news for you. You do have a bloodline. In fact, you have 3. She was interrupted before she could continue. I what? Naruto yelped. Kyoto and Virgin laughed at his reaction. The blonde-haired demon vessel's blue eyes had opened wide, and his mouth had dropped open. He blushed as he composed himself. Sorry, I just never thought that I had 1 bloodline, never mind. 3. Kyoto just smiled in understanding. 1 is about to open and activate fully, the other 2 are still opening and won't activate for a while yet. She continued her explanation. I'd say a month or 2 at most. She took a sip of her tea, reminding Naruto that his was growing cold. He took a fairly large-sized gulp before relaxing back into the sofa. I'm glad that you have a bloodline, Naruto. Virgin smiled at the boy. Not only because of my hobby, but because you seem like the type to do good with it. The blue-eyed child beamed at the brunette. Thank you, he replied, bowing his head at the man. Kyoto smirked at the 2 of them. So do you want to know what your bloodlines are? She inquired. Naruto nodded eagerly, leaning forward. He couldn't want to find out. Now, your bloodlines. They're, the D Edoko bloodline, the S Hokubutsu H Arutsu bloodline, and, the A Nimaru bloodline. Kyoto smirked as the 4th's jaw dropped and Naruto looked completely confused. The D Edoko bloodline? Virgin gasped. I thought that was a myth. Well, obviously, it's not, the older woman said in a rather snarky tone. Naruto, any questions? Yeah. What are they? I mean, I don't know what they are, Naruto asked sheepishly. Kyoto smiled. Okay. Let's start with the easiest one. The Hokubutsu H Urutsu bloodline. It basically gives you the power to talk to plants, she began. It also gives you the power to use the plant's energy to do things. Like killing enemies, walking up trees without using chara. And asking them about an enemy's hideout. Things like that. Plus, I'm sure that they can hold some interesting conversations when you don't want to talk anyone else. Really? Naruto asked. That sounds fun. Indeed, she inclined her head. Next, the Enimaru bloodline. It gives you the power to talk to animals and summon them. Good companions when you're on your own and need some company. Good for scouting too. Naruto smiled. He liked the sound of that. He needed someone to talk to sometimes when he was mad at his team. Now the last one, the D-Edoko bloodline. It is completely compatible with every bloodline in existence. Kyoto's tone was now very serious. Legends say that it is the very first bloodline and that all others are derived from it. It gives you the power to use them. All you need is for someone with a bloodline to use it on someone, or something, and you can use it as well. Or, at least, use something that is very similar. Quite useful, don't you think? Naruto and the fourth both nodded, mouths gaping. A bloodline that would let him use every bloodline. Whoa. Kit, breathe. You're starting to see spots, and you're turning purple. Naruto let out the breath of air that he had unconsciously been holding, then took a deep breath in. Kyoto and Virgin grinned. You know, you shouldn't hold your breath like that. You were a rather vibrant shade of prune. Quite interesting really, Virgin said. Naruto sent a weak glare his way. He shuddered in reaction to the knowledge that he had something that could possibly help him so much. Or it could destroy him. The very thought of what the clans back home would do to him if they found out that he could essentially steal their bloodlines from them, chilled him to the very core of his being. It was right then and there that he decided to only tell the Hokage about it when he got back home. He would also demand that the old man make it a SSS-ranked secret, so that only he and the old man could tell anyone about it. The old man would have to get his permission first, though. Kit, calm down. Breathe. If you need to retreat, and I'll take over. I promise I won't do anything. Thanks, Kubi. I really need to just scream for a little bit. No problem, Kit. Naruto relaxed and let Kubi take over. He retreated to his personal screaming area in his mind. He made it so he could scream, cry, and hide when the villagers got frisky. Those memories would flash before him as they happened, and the emotion that was attached to the memory was immediately suppressed into a small box in the scream area. Then the memory was put in one of the dark blue doors. He felt safe here. He knew if anything happened, he could come and stay here until it was safe to come out. That is a super good thing to remember later. Over to Kubi. Kyoto and Virgin stared as Naruto's body changed. His nails got longer, sharper. Canines longer. The whisker marks on his face were longer and darker. But the scariest part of his transformation was that his eyes changed from blue to purple to blood red. When the change was done, Naruto's head lifted up to gaze at them. Hello, I'm Kubi. I'm not going to kill you. I'm just taking over Naruto's body until he gets over the shock you just gave him, Kubi said with an ironic smile. Kyoto and Virgin both blinked. Why would he have been in shock? We haven't done anything to him, Virgin asked in surprise. The two adults didn't really have any idea what to do in this situation, so the Raikage held true to his politic training and reacted calmly. He focused on the part of the demon statement that he could deal with. Back in Konoha, the clans would have a very large fit over the fact that Naruto could, more or less, steal their bloodlines. Kubi explained, his voice a low, growling, baritone. He's going to have to keep it a secret from everyone but the Hokage. If he didn't, they would be calling for his death quicker than you can say, oh. When his other two bloodlines become fully active, he could use those without worries. But the D-Edoko bloodline would have to remain a complete secret. So I must ask that the two of you would promise not to tell anyone about his D-Edoko. While he made it sound like a question, it was very clear by the look in his eyes that it wasn't one. Not to worry, neither of us will mention it to anyone without his permission. Virgin promised for the two of them. Kyoto nodded her agreement. Thank you. The fox tilted his head, reminding the two humans of Naruto. I'm glad he has met the two of you, if only to show him that not everyone cares about me being sealed in him. It lets him know that he is worth more than what those fools tell him. Virgin nodded thoughtfully. Yeah, he is worth far more. When I first saw him, I thought that he was just a little kid lost. He just oozes innocence, he said. That kid will have a real hard time killing someone. Unless he is in a rage, you take over and black him out. He won't be able to do it with a clean conscience. Kubi smiled. It was a little creepy. Yes, that is true. The only time he could do it, himself, is if someone he loved and trusted with his heart got hurt. Someone he trusted with the knowledge of me. Someone his age, not adults. And there isn't one of those yet. Kubi grew a thoughtful look. Yes, what is it, Kubi? What is on your mind? Kyoto asked. Kubi looked at her. There might be someone. Who it is deep in his mind. I can't tell who it is or what gender, but there is someone who gets more attention from him than anyone else, Kubi stated. Him seemed a little bit puzzled. Then his look turned more attentive. The kid is ready to talk again. He'll seem a little dazed, but he'll be normal otherwise, Kubi said. Then, Naruto's body changed back. Naruto blinked, then grinned at them. So, did you have a pleasant conversation with Kubi? He asked cheekily. They chuckled, before smiling at him. Yes, we enjoyed it well enough. Virgin stated. Had the explanations are over with, Naruto, would you like to see the village? Kyoto asked. He nodded enthusiastically. Coming, Virgin. We still have to register Naruto in as a visitor. And I suppose that you want to write Naruto's bloodlines down in your book, too, Kyoto said, standing. She went into the kitchen for a moment before coming back, holding a piece of paper. Here, child. It's the recipe that you wanted. The blonde boy smiled and pocketed it. Come along. Kyoto led them out the door and into the village. As she walked, she pointed things out to Naruto. Soon they reached the Raikage Tower. As they enter, Virgin was more or less attacked by several aides, Anbu, and people in general, all demanding to hurt immediately. Naruto backed into a corner near the door. He was nervous around so many people. Despite the fact that this was a different village and nobody knew him, deeply ingrained instinct told him that hiding was the wisest course of action here. That, and he had a familiar voice telling him to. Kit, hide. You don't want to be seen here. Not by these people. I know, Cuckoo. I got the feeling that these people would try to hurt me. Or try to steal you if they knew we were here. Yes. It feels painful here. Keep quiet and try to stay out of sight for now. He faded into the faint shadows that were casted by a plant that was near the corner. As it turned out, he didn't need to hide so well. Kyoto had stood in front of him. Obliviously, she had had the same idea. Don't say anything, dear, she muttered out of the side of her mouth. These aren't the type of people you want to be talking to at your age. They would have no qualms about using you to their own gains. She nodded to a couple people when they addressed her. Quiet. The Raikage shouted above everyone. When silence fell, he spoke in tones that broke no argument. I will listen to all of you in turn. Right now I have some pressing matters to attend to. If you will make an appointment with my secretary, I will see you all in turn. Now if you will excuse me, he started shooing everyone away. When the hall was empty, he looked at them. He blinked. Where's Otto-chan? He was here a minute ago. Kyoto stepped aside and looked behind her. She grew a confused look. He was right there. They both blinked as he stepped out of the shadow he was hiding in. Don't do that. It's like you were born out of the stone wall there. Useful thing, that talent, but don't do that around us please, Virgin asked. Naruto nodded. The fourth then led them down the hall to a room marked, registration. He knocked, then stuck his head in. He opened the door wider when he saw there was someone in the room. Hello Rune. I have someone that needs to register as a guest to the village, he greeted the man in the room. The man had blonde hair, bright green eyes, and was as tall as Kakashi. He was wearing a gray shirt and a dark gray pair of pants. He didn't get up to bow to the Raikage, though. Naruto wondered why briefly. Well, get in here then, boy. I don't have all day, Rune replied, in a gruff voice. Once everyone was in the room, Virgin closed the door. Then he scooted Naruto forward. This is Uzumaki Naruto. He came here to train in different environments. No one else is to know he is here. Unless I say so, Vergen stated. Rune blinked. He looked at Naruto with a measuring glance. Naruto saw no hate in it, just curiosity. Finally, he nodded. Alright. Now, I need you to fill out this forms. Naruto took the forms from him. After he had filled them out to the best of his ability, he handed them back. Rune took them, looked them over, placed a stamp on them, then put them in a folder. The folder then disappeared. Naruto's mouth made an O shape. His blood also made a singing sensation throughout his body. Rune smiled at his expression. That's my bloodline. I can place objects in different planes. If you want something hidden, give it to me and no one will find it. And they can't torture me for it, because I have a safety switch in my body. The minute I get hurt, I disappear to the closest designated safety zone. And if I die, everything that I've placed will go back to its owners. If the owners are dead, then it goes to the person the owners said was safe. Oh, Naruto said. He decided against trying it at that moment as most clans were very territorial about their bloodlines. Vergen, noticing that Naruto wasn't going to try it, spoke up. Do you mind if Naruto tries? He inquired of the man. His bloodline is very similar to yours. Since he is the last of his clan, he needs to have some sort of guidance. You're the closet to it. Vergen was stretching the truth pretty far with this explanation, but he had made a promise. He wasn't going to go back on it. Sure, it's not a problem. Concentrate on this empty folder. Good. Now while holding the folder in mind, think of this drawer, Rune instructed. Now think of the folder in the drawer. Put some charka in that image. Rune trailed off when the folder disappeared on top of the desk into the drawer next to him. He looked at Naruto, then at Kyoto and the fourth. They were both grinning like no tomorrow. He looked slightly dazed at how quick the child had picked up on it. It seemed like the blonde's bloodline was very similar to his own. You alright, sir? Naruto asked tentatively. To Naruto, when people are silent around him, or because of him, it doesn't usually bode well for him. Rune looked at him. Naruto back up behind Vergen. The three adults looked at him surprised. When they saw the fear in his eyes that was rapidly turning into terror, they surprised. Grew. Rune was up and moving before Vergen and Kyoto could say anything to soothe Naruto. Naruto, it's all right. Rune said, kneeling in front of him. It just surprised me that you have so much potential. I don't want to hurt you. In fact, I want to help you learn as much as you can. If you want me. Rune fell back onto his rear as Naruto glomped onto him. Naruto buried his face into Rune's chest. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Naruto cried into his chest. Rune smiled down at him. That smile turned into concern when he realized that Naruto was crying on him. Kyoto and the fourth knelt down to help soothe the helplessly sobbing child. After a few minutes, the sobs died down. When they finally stopped, Naruto remained cradled in Rune's arms. Slowly, his breathing deepened. Soon the fox boy was sleeping peacefully. Well, this isn't the first time I've had a kid fall asleep on me, but it's the first time I've had a child afraid of me, Rune whispered, keeping quiet so not to wake Naruto. Vergen nodded. Kyoto looked thoughtfully at Naruto. I think that Naru-chan was afraid because he's had bad experiences when people were quiet in his presence, she murmured. When I was looking in his head for the door that would lead me to his bloodline, I saw that while he had brightly colored doors for better than normal days, they were few. There were more dull doors in his mind than better ones. What surprised me the most was that they're very dark-colored doors that more or less dominated his mind. Those memories were either locked or open to the fullest. Those are his nightmares, I believe, she shuddered. Dull ones are bad days, right? The fourth asked. She shook her head. No, they were worse than normal days. The really dark ones were unholy days, is the only way I can put it. She turned to look at Naruto, only to be greeted by an empty space on the floor. She looked up as Rune closed the door to a second room in the office. I put him in the study room. There's a sofa in there that he's sleeping on, Rune stated. I believe that he should rest a while. Now, are you going to introduce him to the clan leaders? When they looked at him in surprise, he shrugged. It's very rare that the two of you are in the same room. Since it is because of that young boy, it would make sense to bring the clan leaders in on it. Well, I was thinking that we should get the nicer, friendlier leaders first. Then difficult ones, Virgin said. Kyoto nodded in agreement. Yes, I think that would be best. The Kamito clan would be the most friendly, I believe, she mused out loud. Sumi could teach him some of her basic techniques and Rini, with her natural ability to soothe, could calm him when needed. She kept in mind that she wasn't supposed to say anything about Naruto's bloodline. I really don't need a soother, Naruto said from the doorway. Not so much as a mental block from my memories. They turned to look at him. He looked very tired, but he was as alert as most Anbu at noon. He smiled ironically. I don't need to sleep very long for me to regain energy. I'm sorry for breaking down like that. He shrugged one shoulder. I don't usually have many people willing to help me, at all. Yet, here, at a completely different village from my own, strangers offered to help me learn to be stronger. No one I know would do that. Not even my teacher. Naruto, you are a child. No matter what's inside you, you deserve to learn anything you want to learn, Kyoto informed him. Rune and Virgin agreed. Well, why don't you go take a nap? Rune, you go get the nicer clans. Bring them to the rakeage office. Virgin, you go and get the more difficult ones. Leave the Claddies and Tiosko clans to me. Kyoto ordered like a drill sergeant. Virgin and Rune both saluted. Naruto smiled and returned to the study. The Raikage and Rune left to go gather their assigned clans. As Kyoto left, she thought about her battle plan for the last two clans. They were the most stubborn out of all of them. Telling them that they were going to do this was out of the question. They would go, but wouldn't help. If she told them that the Raikage needs their opinions and maybe their help, they would have a fit when they find out why. What would get them to come without revealing why and yet make them help? Kyoto moved toward the Tiosko clan manor. The lesser of the two evils. Why, oh why, can't people just be less stubborn? I hope that Naruto is up to this. They'll probably grill him with questions until they're satisfied. Then, they would just argue with each other. That's it. If she tells them that the Raikage needs their help and they refuse, she could just tell them that that was fine and that she would just go get the other clan. Their clan's dislike of each other was legendary. They would come just to outdo each other. Okay, now that the battle plan was set, it's time to carry it out. As she neared the Tiosko manor, she hoped that this wouldn't take too long. She didn't like the idea of leaving Naruto alone in the office. Someone could walk in there and see him. They could do something they might regret later. She hoped not. Naruto wasn't really worried about that. He had locked the door when he closed it earlier. He was now walking, in his mind, toward Kubi's area. He wanted to talk to someone, even if they weren't completely human. He turned at one of the doors to Kubi's home. Well, Kit. You had an interesting event there. Kubi was smiling, which softened any rebuke in his voice. I didn't know I was going to start bawling. I just wanted to thank him. How was I supposed to know that I was going to break down? Naruto demanded. True. I think the reason you started crying was that you never had anyone apologize to you before. Or say that they will help you without you having to give something in return, Kubi said thoughtfully. Then he nodded. Yup, that has to be the reason. Now, how about I teach you how to use my bloodline? Kubi gave a full-blown grin when Naruto stared at him. You have a bloodline, he all but bellowed. Kubi nodded. Yes. All demons have a bloodline in them. It's different for each family. The fox demon said, putting a subtle tone on the word family. Mine enhances my senses. It's called kin sense. Demon foxes have it. The wolves have enhanced speed. Dogs have enlarged bodies. Cats have power over the weather. There are some ice demons up north somewhere. Fire ones in the desert to the south. I think there's a wind demon in the mountains somewhere, Kubi stated, obviously trying to remember the rest of them. Well, is there any more I need to know? Naruto didn't want to hear 100 different demon bloodlines. He wanted to learn Kubi's, then learn the clan leader's bloodlines. And he didn't have the time to hear all of them, either. 2 more. Water demons are around the ocean area. And I believe that the lightning demon is in the demon forest somewhere. The water demons can manipulate all types of water to their will, and the lightning, well, he likes to hide what he can do, so I don't know what he does, Kubi said, confused about that. Well, if I see him, I'll ask. I won't promise that he'll tell me, but I can ask. Now, moving on to your bloodline. I need to learn it now or later, when I don't have clan leaders coming to see me, Naruto said. Kubi chuckled. Alright, Kit. The first thing you gotta do is think of all your senses. Send Charka to all of them. Yeah, it is going to feel funny. Now, watch me. This is what your features will look like once you have this mastered. Kubi changed into his human form. He had black hair. It was tied back into a ponytail. He was wearing a traditional kimono. It was red with a white sash. Had to. His human form is important later. Plus I needed to have it introduced already. I won't have time to say it later. Kubi concentrated. His features changed slightly. His eyes were sharper looking, like they could see right into someone's soul. His nose was pointier, not much pointier, but just a slight turn up. His lips were thinner. His ears were more elfish looking. Think Lord of the Rings. His skin had a slight glow to it. When he was done, Kubi smiled at Naruto. Wow. That is so cool. Hey, I was wondering about something. Kiba keeps telling me that my scent is weird. What do you think, Ku? Naruto asked. Kubi took a few deep breaths. His expression turned confused. Kit, your scent is weird. It changes with every breath I take in. One breath you smell like the ocean, the next, autumn leaves. On the third, you smell like a summer breeze. Very useful, for missions that involve animals of the enemy that might track you. Of course, that would also be a pain for your allies that rely on scent. So, if you can learn to control it, give the allies one scent and give the enemies others. And you can have fun driving that Kiba kid, his family, and his dogs insane. Just give them one scent on one area and overlay another scent on top. Kubi laughed. Naruto smiled slyly. Then he gained a look of concentration. Kubi felt his blood stir. Naruto's features changed to look exactly like Kubi's, except his eyes. They were sharper than Kubi's and seemed to look into and past the soul, towards the boundaries of heaven and hell. They were like ice. Kubi shivered, as he looked at those icy blue eyes. Then Naruto disengaged the kin sense. I did it. Anything else I should learn? I feel someone's presence coming towards the office, Naruto informed Kubi. Kubi shook his head. No, you can go. We will see each other again soon. Kubi faded from view as Naruto came back to reality. The shadows had lengthened considerably. The presence of the other person nearing. The office was familiar. He heard the outer office door open, and the person stepped in. The person walked to the door and knocked. Naruto, you awake? Rune asked. Naruto got up and unlocked the door. Rune came in, smiled kindly, and ruffled Naruto's hair. Come on. Most of the clan leaders are here. The Raikage decided to explain what he wants them to do one at a time. He's going to wait until we get there to finish talking to them. Kyoto is still working on the last two. The most stubborn, he said as he escorted Naruto to the Raikage office. When they entered the huge oak doors, the first thing Naruto noticed was the beautiful carvings everywhere. The second thing he noticed was the large amount of people in there. That immediately caused him to shy behind Rune. So Rune wore one else. Naruto didn't trust so many people with his safety. Understandable. Everyone had looked up when they enter, and they blinked when Naruto hid behind Rune. Vergen smiled and walked over. He knelt beside him and held out his hand. Naruto looked at him piercingly, then hesitantly took his hand. Vergen pulled him out, then picked him up. Vergen then turned to the clan leaders. This is Uzumaki Naruto. He's here to train and he is also shy around strangers. Say hello, Naruto, Vergen said. Naruto turned to the clan leaders and said a hesitant hello. The clan leaders nodded in return and studied him carefully. To Naruto, it seemed if they were trying to see if the nine tails was going to break out. He hid his face in the fourth's chest. Please stop staring at him. You're scaring him, Rune informed the startled leaders. They immediately looked away. One walked slowly over to Naruto. He placed a hand on Naruto's head. Sorry for scaring you, little Otto-chan, he apologized, using a nickname that seemed to fit Naruto. We didn't mean to. I know that. You have ample reason to fear strangers, but we won't hurt you. I believe that I would like to help you learn as much as you can. Yes. I would like to help too, another piped in. One by one, the leaders said that they would help. Naruto had turned to look toward the first one when he placed the hand on Naruto's head. As each proclaimed that they would help, he turned to them, giving each a piercing look. When the last one had proclaimed it, Naruto gave them a smile. A genuine smile, like few had ever seen on his face. The smile lit up the room and filled the clan leaders' hearts with joy. "Thank you. Let's get started then," Naruto said, bowing his head to the leaders. Kyoto wasn't having a good afternoon. The Tiosko clan leader was being far more stubborn than she had hoped he'd be. She really was going to kill him soon. But then she'd have to hide the body and make it so it seemed that he had died on a mission. And that would take more time and energy than she really wanted to spend on him. "Okay. Let me tell you this one more time. The Raikage needs your clan's help in training an upcoming bloodline and needs you to come immediately," she said for the 19th time. The Tiosko leader shook his head for the 19th time. "Yes, I know already. But, as I've told you, we cannot just take time out of our schedule to train a kid not even related to us. The child can wait for a few days," Darren stated, exasperated. "Fine. If you won't help the Raikage, then I will just go to the Claddy's leader and have her help," Kyoto stated hotly. She stood up and began stalking out the door. She had had enough of his high and mighty attitude. He had only become leader of the clan because his father had died in a B-class mission that had gone awry. The new leader just turned 18 when his father died. The whole clan was in mourning and hadn't taken any missions for a whole month. This would have been the first mission since. Whoa. Now there is no reason to go to the classes," he stated, alarmed that she even suggested going to them. She also noticed that he said the clan's name like it was a disgusting swear word. "Why would you go to the Claddy's clan?" "Well, let's see. She doesn't have an attitude, she respects her elders, and the Raikage has requested me to see if the Claddy's clan will help train the child that you seem eager to dismiss. He is requesting all of the clans to help. I believe that she will help train him even if you were going to help. But since you're not, I don't believe that will be a problem," Kyoto said with a hint of steel in her voice. She hadn't even bothered to turn around. But not for the reason he thought. It was to hide the smile of victory that had wormed its way onto her face. "Well, why didn't you say so? Of course I'll help. I'll leave right away. Just let me get someone to be in charge for a while," he said frantically. He all but ran out of the room. She smirked at his quickly retreating back. Then she showed herself out the door. She has another clan leader to convince to come. Now, if only the headache would go away, or at least lessen to a lesser level. She had a sneaky suspicion that wasn't going to, though. Why, oh why, did she have to have the most stubborn people in her village? Well, that was neither here nor there. On to the other leader. How she hoped that Kiryu would be more sympathetic with Kyoto. Oh, how she hoped. Why can't this headache go away? Naruto thought wishfully. His head was pounding like no other. And in time to his pulse, which he never thought was possible. His headaches usually were opposite of his pulse. Course, he had never spent an half-hour learn every different bloodline and parts of bloodlines there are in one village before either. Well, there's always a first time for everything. Well, that's everyone here. How's your head, Otto-chan? Virgin asked him in a concerned manner. Naruto had been wincing slightly for the last few bloodlines he was given. Virgin was worried that he had overtaxed himself. "I got one demon of a headache, but I'll live. I think I can handle 2 more without harming myself. Any more and I'll probably have an angry fox demon forcing control from me to scold you for letting me tax my mind so much," Naruto laughed. Virgin laughed weakly with him. He and the clan leaders had already had one scolding from the demon. He didn't really want to repeat it. General flashback. "Are you done talking about me as if I'm not there?" Naruto demanded of the arguing adults. They turned to him surprised. The Raikage and Rune looked guilty and apologetic. The clan leaders looked down at the floor. Apparently, they usually didn't do that. "Wonderful. I have a bunch of clan leaders that don't have a clue why they agreed to come here, and they have yet to even taken a good look at me. Well, would you like me to talk to them, Kit? Ku? You are a godsend. Be my guest." Naruto let his control fade, and felt Kubi take control. This was going to be good. Yes, this will be interesting. Naruto's body changed to fit Kubi. The adults were arguing again, so they didn't notice. I changed it so they were arguing about whether they should help out point blank. They still don't know. Once the changes were done, Kubi pulled himself up to Naruto's full height, gathered a deep breath, and used the "stop, everyone. Demon, or, not, in, full, mob, voice that he usually didn't use unless it was necessary. It wasn't necessary now, but he was going to have so much fun yelling at them and making them feel bad. Kubi could feel Naruto's glee and laughter at this. "Kit, if you think my ideas are funny, wait until I get momentum going." "Well, then get going." "Yes sir." Kubi did a mental salute. "Silence," Kubi said. Everyone shut their mouths, turned to stare at him, and more or less gaped at him. Kubi glared at all of them. The Raikage blinked. "Kubi. What why, hi, how are you?" he stammered. Kubi smiled without any humor. "I'm fine, and I'm ashamed of your behavior. All of your behavior. I would expect more from men and women of your stature. Hell, of your age. I wouldn't be surprised if Kid didn't just leave," Kubi said in a disgusted voice. Vergen flushed and looked down guiltily, as did Rune and the clan leaders. Having a sealed demon tell you off wasn't the best thing to have on your self-esteem. Especially if the demon's words were true. Just because you don't think a child could be better than any of you or could even have a better bloodline. Or, heaven forbid, slightly smarter than you, it doesn't give you the right to undermine him. He came here to learn new things and train for different things that he might encounter. What does he get? A bunch of overgrown babies that can't even see that they have a gift in front of them. The clan leaders and the Raikage all seemed to shrink into themselves. It's bad enough that the demon was right, but to have him tell them that Naruto could be their greatest project was too much. They all started saying sorry over and over again from going overboard. "I'm not the one you need to be saying sorry to," Kubi informed them. "Naruto is the one needing that the most. Now, will you or will you not help him?" "We will help him learn," the clan leaders proclaimed together. They also bowed in union. Kubi was laughing his ass off internally. So not be impolite. And he could feel the kid laughing right along with him. "That is hilarious, Ku. What's next?" "Well, how about either you take over or I have fun making them jump through political hoops." "Which will it be?" "Political hoops please." "Alright, political hoops it is." "N. I won't go through that. I can play them as well as the next, but typing won't do it. Just know that at the end of it, the humans had a greater appreciation of the human politics. Demon politics makes trying to choose a new president look like a stroll in the park. And at the end, Naruto was hyperventilating from laughing so hard. "Kubi, will you please bring Otto-chan back now? We would like to teach him now," the clan leaders pleaded with him. He had been moving them through demon politics for the past 15 minutes, and they really need a break from it and him. Kubi was laughing out loud by now and Naruto had hyperventilated 3 times for laughing so hard. Naruto's stomach had also cramped 6 or 7 times during that 15-minute time period. N. For females, think of the time of the month cramps while PMs sing and you've got it. For males, think of spraining your ankle and then have that cramp and you've got it. Painful, huh? Alright, I'll bring Naruto back. But you all had better behave yourselves. I don't want the kid complaining that he was having trouble with you lot being stubborn, Kubi warned them. They all nodded vigorously. "Well, Kit? Is that a good enough of a scolding for you?" "Absolutely, Ku. I'll come back out now." "Alright, let's switch." Naruto's body changed back from the demon version to the human version. When the change was done, Naruto smiled brightly at them. They smiled tentatively back. "Have fun with Ku. I thought you needed an adult to talk to, instead of a child," Naruto said, smiling pleasantly at them. They could see laughter sparkling in his eyes. "Oh, yes. We had so much fun with Kubi. That was an interesting discussion on politics. And the only one I want to have with Kubi," Vergen stated, with sarcasm evident in his voice. Naruto just grinned at him. Rune rolled his eyes at his Raikage. "Shall we start now?" Naruto asked sweetly. Everyone nodded. They then began. Naruto's new bloodline knowledge was Snake Demon Time, Thought Intense, Dreamcatcher, Body Mind, Body, Soul, Eye Demon, Mind Clench, Iron Muscle, Golden Fist, Stone Fist, Gold Heart, Gentle Touch, and Sword Dance. Along with Rune's bloodline, he was waiting for the last 2 clan leaders to show up. He would learn those bloodlines, take a nap, then go and train outside the village. He would come back in for food and then go back out to train some more. If he was lucky, he could get done training at 3 or maybe 3:30 in the morning. He was brought out of his musings by the door's opening. Naruto turned to the door. In came a teenager. 17, 18 at the most, with the most uncomfortable look on his face. He had red hair that was spiky in the back. A.N. Sasuke's style, but with more hair and spike. His eyes were purple with yellow flicks in them. He was the same height as the Raikage. Maybe an inch or two shorter. He was wearing Anbu clothing, but they were looser and had a swirl design on them. He walked in slowly, as if he expected everyone to jump him. He looked like a crab. A.N. Sideways scuttle. He was along the other door. Only opened one. Naruto had to look away to keep from laughing. Naruto looked at Virgin, raising an eyebrow in silent question. Virgin smiled at him, then at the young clan leader. "Ah, Darren. Good to see you can make it. I am so sorry for your loss," stated the Raikage. "If I had any clue what was going to happen, I wouldn't have sent him on the mission. Your father was a good man." The Raikage was clearly distressed. Darren nodded his acceptance of them. He had moved from the door to a few feet from Naruto. He then turned to Naruto. "Is this him, the child we're to help train?" he asked, crouching down to look at Naruto better. The Raikage nodded. "Doesn't look like much, does he? Not very tall. I'd say he was 6 or 7. But the look in his eye belies that. It is the look of an adult that has seen more than his fair share of pain and suffering. Way more. 13, maybe 14. As he said this, the Raikage blinked. How can he see what he cannot? Naruto smirked at Darren. He had made his own evaluation of the young leader, too. Quite interesting, this Darren boy. 17, maybe 18. Lost his father and mentor in a B-ranked mission. Doesn't trust many people, even in his own family, Naruto said quietly. Takes a long time in thinking a problem out. Doesn't run headlong into a solution. Seen the suffering of too many people, on a mission, perhaps. More than he would see here, even with his father's death included. Was scared in more ways than one from it. The leader of the village stared at him and at Darren. What the fuck, was the thought of the room. What are you two talking about? Asked Virgin. Naruto and Darren just smirked at him. Then Naruto shook his head. Nothing, don't worry about it. He and I just have an understanding, that's all, he said. Darren nodded in agreement. Darren turned on his heels sideways, still crouching. Well, child. I believe that I'm here reason, yes? Naruto nodded once. He turned his full attention to the Tiosko clan leader. Let's go. As Kyoto left the Claddy's manor, she wondered why she bothered to help people. The meeting with the leader was almost as big of a disaster as the one with Darren. Kiryu was nicer and much more polite to her than Darren, but she was just as stubborn if not more so. Yes, she was in the position of leader longer and was a year younger than him, but Kyoto swore that they were the same person. They were so alike that Kyoto had to pull the same trick to get her to go. Kyoto left as soon as Kiryu went to put someone in charge. She didn't want to stay there longer than necessary. She also wanted to get back to the Raikage Tower. The meeting with the clan leaders was something she wanted to be at. She hurried down the street. Soon the tower came in sight. She hurried through the doors and up the stairs, to the Raikage office. Opening the door was a sight that she thought she'd never see. Naruto was sitting on top of Darren, with the young clan leader tickling him in an attempt to get Naruto off. The Raikage was sitting behind his desk, smiling at the two boys on the floor. She cleared her throat to get the attention of the people in the room. The boys stopped to look at her, with Darren looking upside down at her. Virgin smiled even wider at her. She ignored him and raised an eyebrow at Naruto. He delivered a large smile that made him look more like a fox that was strictly necessary. Hi, Kito-chan. How did your meeting with the last clan leader go? Naruto asked, getting off of Darren and bounding over to her. Hello, Otto-chan. Fine. She should be here soon. Did you learn what everyone was willing to teach you already? She said as he gave her a hug of hello. She returned the hug. As soon as the hug was over, he bounded over to Darren and glomped onto him, causing him to fall over. He had stood up when Naruto got off him. Naruto grinned down at the boy beneath him, then turned to Kiyotoko while sitting on Darren's stomach. Yes, I did. I got a headache from it, though. I really need to work on my mental strength, he said, while Darren pushed Naruto off his stomach and into his lap. Darren then sat up and put Naruto in a headlock. Then he gave Naruto a nuggie. At that point the door opened to reveal a slender, black-haired woman that was 17 at the most. She was wearing the same type of clothes as Darren, with obvious differences. She had green her forehead. N. Kind of like Gaara, huh? It read, wonder. You called for me, Raikage-sama, she said, with a formal bow. Naruto grinned very widely at her bowed head. Obviously, to everyone but the girl, who couldn't see him, he was planning something. Naruto looked at Darren. Darren, after a moment, grinned along with him. Darren then activated his bloodline, Shadow Displace. He and Naruto disappeared from view and from sense. What are they up to? Kiyotoko thought. Kirya, thank you for coming. I would like you to meet Nar. Where did he go? Vergen asked, very confused. He looked around. For that matter, where's Darren? Just then, Kirya was propelled forward violently. What the fuck? She looked around suspiciously. They heard faint laughter, but they couldn't pinpoint the exact place where it was coming from. They then heard a thump. Once again, Kirya been pushed down. She also had started swearing under her breath by then. She had moved from polite swearing to street swearing. They could hear the laughter better now. Not well enough to pinpoint, but enough to hear clearly. Darren, Otto-chan, come on. Be nice to the clan leader, Vergen said, nicely. Why? It's so much fun. And that girl really needs to lighten up. She has a stick shoved so far up her ass that she's reminding me of my friend, back home. Purred Naruto, in a soft voice that was right next to everyone's ear, yet far away. Back in Konoha, Sasuke sneezed. Damn. Someone is talking about me. Wonder who? His heart fluttered at the thought it was Naruto. Then he was brought back to earth when a piercing voice penetrated his hearing. Are you alright, Sasuke? Are you sick? Sakura asked, worried about her love. She wouldn't leave him alone. Now that Naruto was gone, she would get Sasuke to be her boyfriend. Naruto, that wasn't nice. Now, come back out. It would be nice to apologize, meet her properly, and to finish up for the day, Kiyotoko said sternly. They heard a very faint debate. Kirya was pushed one more time, but this time from the front, and it was a soft push. No more than a small bump. There was a small popping sound and the two boys faded into view a few feet in front of Kirya. The boys were facing Kirya and studying her thoughtfully. Naruto was in front of Darren, leaning back against him in a submissive, younger brother gesture. He was squinting at Kirya in a fox-like way. He seemed to be inspecting her for something only he knew how to look for. Darren was bracing Naruto up in a protective, older brother way that seemed far more natural than it should have. He had an arm around Naruto's shoulders. Darren was gazing at her in a thoughtful yet protective way. His whole demeanor was saying, don't hurt my brother if you know what's good for you. Hello. My name is Uzumaki Naruto. You're Kirya. Why are you so angry yet so sad? Naruto asked, with the childlike bluntness that he possessed. Kirya blinked down at him a couple of times. What was this kid talking about? Anger she could understand, but sadness? Huh? Was the intelligent reply that came. Your eyes, they hold anger, yet underneath that is a deep sadness. Like a broken horse, never to run free again. Why? Naruto asked in the puzzled way of a child half his age. She knelt down to gaze at him. He had opened his eyes completely. The blue depths were empty. Yet they asked to let him understand why she didn't let anyone in. She smiled at them, and then used her bloodline. Animal shift. She changed into a vixen. She didn't want him or anyone else to understand her. She began to speak when Naruto changed into a fox kid himself. My bloodline lets me use every bloodline there is. I just need to learn them, he said. Why are you so sad? Kirya heaved a deep sigh. My family has lost many people due to missions, sickness, and assassinations. My parents among them. I miss them greatly, but I must push it aside to take care of the clan and build it back up. Naruto trotted over to her and nuzzled her neck in a comforting, brotherly way. She turned her head and hid it in his fur. Naruto started purring, a soothing one that was used by adult foxes to calm kids. They stayed that way for 10 minutes. Naruto nuzzling her and purring, Kirya hiding her face in his fur. Darren smiled at this scene. He knew what was going on. Naruto had gotten through to her and now he had made her his new sister, the same way he had made Darren his brother. Naruto is probably the only person on the planet that could get her to trust again. Well, time to wake them up, out of the imposed trace sleep they placed themselves in. Darren walked over to them and knelt. He picked them both up, without disrupting the comforting purr or the gentle nuzzling that Naruto was doing. Kirya turned in his arms so that her face was hidden between Naruto and his chest. Darren turned to the Raikage and the seer of bloodlines. He smiled and nodded at them, then disappeared from view in a puff of smoke. "Guess the meeting is over," Virgan said, looking at Kyoto. She nodded and left. Virgan stayed in his office to think things over. He really wanted to call Darren back in, to have him bring back Naruto and Kirya. He wanted so bad to ask why Naruto was comforting Kirya in the form of a fox kit. It was a sad sight to see. But in the end, Virgan smiled, chalked it up to one of the things only Naruto can do, got up and went home to bed. Of course, he left a mound of paperwork on his desk that was due to certain people in the morning, but who could do paperwork when they had pizza waiting at home? Not him. Kirya had gone into a doze during the trip to the forest. Darren, curse the man, seemed to think that Naruto and she would be more comfortable there. He was right, but that didn't mean she should be happy about it. She was just glad that they were away from the clan leaders. She didn't want their pity. All she wanted was to talk to Naruto and go to sleep in these warm and safe arms. Wait. Did I just think that a Tiosko was warm and safe? Yes, she did. It wasn't right. It wasn't normal. But there it was. She felt safe in a Tiosko's arms. She really needed to lay off the sleeping pills. They had stopped by one of the hot springs that the founders of the village had made. It was warm and beautiful around the pool. Naruto had left her in Darren's arms and was now running and splashing in the shallow water. He now looked like a drowned rat, but he was having fun, and that was all that was needed right now. Darren, the evil man was sitting near the pool, absent-mindedly petting her fur. It was soothing, no matter who was doing it. He seemed to be absorbed in the task of making sure Naruto didn't drown. Of course, you couldn't tell if Naruto was or not. He went under the water, stayed there, and then came back up just as the two teenagers would start to worry. How a fox could stay underwater is an unknown to them. You know, if he keeps it up, he'll wear himself down to the point where he'll be too tired to eat, Darren said quietly, so not to startle her. She nodded. Naruto, you really need to rest now. If you don't stop, you won't have any energy to eat. The fox demon vessel skid to a stop in front of them, in the process, sending a wave of water to the two on the shore. Then he started laughing at the sopping sight the two made. It shouldn't have been possible for the fox kid to have such of a cheerful, carefree, human-like laugh. But he did, and it wasn't a good thing. Thanks, Otto-chan. We really needed that, Darren said, sarcasm evident. Naruto just transformed back into his normal form. He bounded over to them. Lying down, he curled up next to Darren, resting his head on Darren's lap. He snuggled back so that his head was nestled back into Darren's stomach. With a yawn and a purr, he fell asleep. Darren and Kirya looked at him strangely. I suppose that we should go home now. I'll take him home with me and you can have him tomorrow. Okay? Darren asked softly. Kirya nodded, then produced a large yawn. Noticing this, Darren picked her up and leveled her with his face. Shush him, clearly wondering what he was doing. He placed her on his shoulder. He then gathered Naruto into his arms. Darren started walking toward town. Oh, he was seeing if I had enough energy to walk. It dawned on Kirya that she should be clawing and fighting, but she was too tired to do that. The walk into town was quiet and uneventful. Naruto was sleeping, nestled in Darren's arms without a care in the world. Kirya was perched on Darren's shoulder, dozing lightly. Darren, himself, was actually quite comfortable with this. Naruto was a hyper munchkin that has run out of energy. Kirya had been polite to him during their time together, so he was going to be polite to her. After all, she hadn't hurt him or Naruto, though he was more concerned about Naruto than himself. At the point where he would have stopped to wake the both of them up, fellow lightning ninjas ambushed him. They didn't attack, for they saw he had a little kid in his arms, but they surrounded him, Darren looked at them with a raised eyebrow. They were looking at him with hostility. The stop woke up Kirya, who looked thoroughly confused, and made Naruto stir a little bit. Not enough to wake him up, but enough to make him turn more toward the warmth that was carrying him. The ninjas took note of this, and moved in closer. That got them a reaction that made them blink. Darren got into a fighting stance, defensive, so that his legs did most of the work. Obviously, he was going to protect the kid, not himself. They don't know Naruto's name. The fox, Kirya, jumped onto the kid and was growling lowly. The ninjas stopped a few feet from them. The ninjas' looks had changed from hostility to curiosity and hostility. The two groups stared at each other for a while. Then one of the ninjas spoke up. "What have you done with Kirya-sama?" he hissed out, trying not to wake up Naruto. Darren and Kirya blinked. "What?" Darren exclaimed softly. "What did you do with Kirya-sama? She went to the Raikage's office and didn't come back," the ninja demanded of the Toisko leader. Kirya rolled her eyes. "Great, I have idiots for members of my family. Concerned idiots, but idiots nonetheless." She jumped from her perch. Standing next to Darren, she changed into her normal form. "What the hell do you think you are doing?" she demanded of the shocked ninjas. "What the hell do you think you are doing?" Kirya demanded of the shocked ninjas. "Well," the ninjas looked everywhere but at them. "When you didn't come back, we became concerned, Kirya-sama," one of the ninjas said softly. Kirya sent a glare his way. "And why would this worry you? I've gone out on my own before, and it hasn't bothered you," she snapped. The ninjas shuffled their feet collectively. "We heard that you had left with a Toisko. We didn't want you to be hurt, so we came looking for you," one cried softly, obviously distressed. The Claddy's leader rolled her eyes heavenward, as if asking, "Why me? Did it occur to you that I might have had a reason to go with him voluntarily? Or that as leader of the clan, I can take care of myself?" The ninjas lowered and shook their heads. Kirya sighed. "Go home, I'll deal with you later." The tone of voice she used broke no argument. The ninjas left. Kirya was about to turn back to the boys when she felt a tug on her shirt sleeve. Looking down, she saw a pair of sleepy, innocent blue eyes. Naruto was at her side, rubbing his eyes. During her argument with her family members, he had woken up and had gotten down from Darren's arms to move toward her. "Can we eat now?" he asked, completely oblivious to everything but his stomach, which now was wrapping itself around his spine. Darren and Kirya chuckled. "Yes, we can go eat now." "What do you want to eat?" Kirya asked. Naruto gave a sleepy fox grin. "Ramen," he exclaimed. The two semi-adults smiled. "All right, ramen it is," Darren agreed. The trio continued into town. They went into the ramen stand closest to Darren's home. Naruto hopped onto a stool at the bar and ordered a large miso ramen. Kirya ordered a shrimp and Darren ordered a beef. As they waited for their food, Naruto began singing under his breath. Kirya and Darren blinked back tears rapidly, for they could still hear what he was singing. "Hey, Dad, look at me. Think back and talk to me. Did I grow up according to plan? Do you think I'm wasting my time? Doing things I want to do. 'Cause it hurts when you disapprove all along. And now I try hard to make it. I just want to make you proud. I'm never gonna be good enough for you. I can't pretend that I'm all right. And you can't change me." He had a beautiful singing voice. It was a light tenor. It would be the envy of many if he stayed as a tenor or became a light, but deep baritone when he hit puberty. Kirya and Darren were lulled into a dazed state as the song progressed. "'Cause we lost it all, and nothing lasts forever. I'm sorry, I can't be perfect. Now it's just too late and we can't go back. I'm sorry, I can't be perfect. I try not to think about the pain I feel inside, did you know?" Naruto broke at that point because their ramen was placed in front of them. They broke their chopsticks apart and said grace. Don't know how to spell the word they say. Naruto began eating his ramen at human speed. Everyone in the shop stared at him. He was done in less time it takes to say, "One more please," Naruto sang out. The chef looked surprised, but began to make him some more. After staring at him for a few more moments, Kirya and Darren began eating their own bowls. By the time they were done, Naruto had downed 37 bowls of ramen and was working on his 38th. That was good, Naruto said, as he finished the last of the noodles. The clan leaders shook their heads and exchanged a look that quite plainly asked, how can anyone eat that many bowls without having a heart attack or falling over dead? Naruto, you have the stomach of iron. There is no way you could have eaten 38 bowls of the most unhealthy thing on the planet, and still be live otherwise, Darren said in admiration. Naruto gave a full blow fox grin, squinted eyes and everything. I can eat 186 bowls before my stomach starts to hurt, he said proudly. Everyone stared at him. He just continued to grin. After shaking their heads, paying a huge ass bill, and leaving an ecstatic owner, they headed toward their homes. At the road where they separated, Kirya and Darren shook hands politely. They had to maintain their reputations after all. They couldn't just decide to be friends and end their family's feud. It was interesting, Kirya said. She was going to say fun, but they were in a public place. Darren nodded his agreement. Kirya turned to the sleepy Naruto. She knelt down and extended her hand to him. It was nice meeting you, Otto-chan, she said. He smiled sweetly at her. He shook her hand, and then gave her a hug. She smiled and returned the hug. It was like having a little brother. She, herself, was an only child. Naruto seemed to see this and had adopted her into his family. It was nice to meet you, Oni-chan. I'll see you tomorrow, he said. Kirya got up, nodded to the both of them, and went down her street. She turned once to wave goodbye. Naruto waved back and Darren just raised his hand. Naruto and Darren watched until she was out of sight. Then Darren took Naruto's hand and led him down the opposite street. Naruto was happy to go with. He was very tired. He was going to go to bed and take a nap. He didn't want to sleep too long. He still had to train. Kit, you're a nut. You do realize that you don't need to train 24/7, right? I know, Ku. I just want to be strong. I'm not staying here long anyway. Maybe 2 days. I have a lot of villages to visit. Very true, Kit. Well, just don't train yourself into ground like normal. I'll try not to. Hey, Otto-chan. Why did you leave your village? I mean, I know you left to train in different environments, but I can't believe that's the only reason, Darren asked. He had been wondering about this for a while. Naruto glanced at him, then looked forward. Well, I always wanted I were stronger, then I get acknowledged by my village. In my village, I'm the dead last. The loser that no one talks to. My own teacher pawned me off onto a perverted moron that can't even get a girl to talk to him. I figured that since no one was training me correctly, then I would train myself. It wasn't that hard of a decision to make, Naruto said in monotone. I left so I could train without people trying hindering me. Huh. Well, I don't think you'll be hindered here. Not with the Raikage, the Seer, and the clan leaders all trying to train you, Darren stated firmly and cheerfully. And here's my house. They were standing in front of a mansion with a 15-feet wall surrounding it. There were smaller houses lining the path to the main house. Naruto and Darren were walking up the path when a large amount of people came running at them. The majority of the group was children. There were a couple of adults in the mix. Naruto dropped back and hid behind Darren in his shadow. He didn't want to attract attention from people. Darren stood waiting for the group to get closer to them, then held his hands out in front of him, in a peace gesture. The group slowed down, and stopped in front of him. They were all babbling and no one person could be made out. Finally, Darren shouted out, in a loud and overly cheerful voice. Calm down. I can't solve problems if I can't make them out. Everyone stopped talking. Darren knelt down to talk to the smallest of the children first, instead of the adults. Everyone ignored Naruto as Darren worked his way through the little problems of the children. Just like he wanted. As Naruto watched Darren move from the smaller problems of the littles to the minor and major problems of the teens, he smiled. Darren was acting like the old man back home. Taking care of the smaller problems, then work his up to the larger problems that will take more time. Just like the old man with the village problems, and like Rei with Naruto's problems as Naruto grew up. Rei was really quite patient with him when he had a breakdown after a really bad, hatred-filled day at the village. Not many, if any, would do that for him. Naruto's attention was drawn to a little that was hanging back and looking like he didn't want to be here. He was smaller than the rest, maybe 5, 6 years old. He had brown hair, hazel eyes. He was wearing clothes that were hand-me-downs and a little big on him. He was holding a large, beaten-up teddy bear in one hand and a scroll in the other. A.N. I'm not copying Gara. All kids have one stuffed toy at that age. I had a glow-in-the-dark bunny. I still have it, in fact. I won't give it up for the world. It's my comfort when I'm having problems that I don't want to talk about. Naruto knelt down in Darren's shadow. Darren was standing now, and made a gesture that the kid would only see. The little looked at him, eyes wide and fearful. Naruto smiled, motioned for the child to come over, and held his hand out. The little looked around, seeing if anyone was paying attention to him. No one was. He walked over to Naruto and took his hand. Naruto drew him forward and placed him on his knee. "Hi, what's your name?" Naruto asked in a soft, soothing tone. The child ducked his head. "Toisko Miken," he said, softly. Naruto continued to smile softly. "Hello, Miken. My name is Naruto. I'm new here. I really like your village, and I like your leader. He's really nice. I couldn't help but notice that you seem to be really scared of him. May I ask why?" Naruto asked in the same soothing tone. Miken hesitated for a moment, and then answered his question. "The older kids told me that if I talked to him he would get mad at me. I'm supposed to give him this scroll, but I don't want to be yelled at," he said, slowly. Naruto shook his head gently. "He won't get mad at you. The older kids probably said that so that you wouldn't tell on them if they did something bad. How about this? If I'm with you, you give the scroll to him and ask if he would yell at you for talking to him." Naruto proposed to him. The little thought it over. Naruto saw some doubt still lingering. He decided to offer a peace offering to him, of sorts. "If he starts yelling, I'll tell him off, all right?" he asked. The child brightened at that and nodded. Naruto smiled at him, then looked up to see whom Darren was talking to. He was talking to the last two adults and it seemed that they were almost done. Naruto picked up Miken and stood up. "Darren," Naruto said in a break of dialogue. "I have someone that needs to give something to you." Darren and the two adults looked at him. The adults looked quite annoyed to be interrupted by a child. Darren looked surprised that he would draw attention to himself. Darren then noticed Miken. He bent down to Miken's level. "What do you need, Miken?" he asked kindly. Miken hesitated for a moment, then held out the scroll. Darren thanked him and took the scroll. Naruto shifted Miken into a more comfortable position on his hip. Do you yell at people for talking to you, sir?" Miken whispered. Darren blinked and shook his head. "No, I don't." "Who told you that?" he asked. Miken flushed. "The older kids. They said that if I talked to you, you would yell at me." Darren shook his head and smiled. "They said that so you wouldn't tattle on them. Don't worry, you can talk to me anytime," Darren said, dispelling Miken's fear of him instantly. Miken smiled shyly. Darren took him from Naruto and placed him on his hip. Darren then turned back to the adults and continued his conversation. Naruto ignored them in favor of talking to Kyuubi. "Ku. What ya doin'? Watching you be sympathetic and gentle with that kid. Oh, cool. I'm bored, tired, and I want to train." Naruto's mind voice had a distinct whine to it. Kyuubi chuckled. "Well, why don't you tell Darren that you're tired? He'll take you inside and you can take a nap. Then you can train. Don't worry, I'll wake you up." "True, and thank you, Ku, for pointing that out." Kyuubi purred as he let go of the link between them. "Darren," Naruto said, softly and sleepily. "I'm tired." Darren looked at him in the dim light and then looked at his watch. He blinked. "You should be. It's well past midnight. No wonder Miken is out cold." It was true. Sometime during their conversations, Miken had fallen asleep. Darren gestured for Naruto and the adults to follow him and turned to walk into the main house. Once inside, Darren sent the adults to bed, carried Miken to his room, placed him in bed, and showed Naruto to his room. "I'm right down the hall if you need anything." "Night, Otto-chan," Darren said, as Naruto slipped into the room. "Night, Dare-senpai," Naruto said as he yawned. Darren smiled and ruffled Naruto's hair. He walked down the hall to his room. Once Darren had closed the door to the room, Naruto went into his room. Falling straight onto the bed, he sent a touch of thought into the back of his mind. "Ku? Wake me up in an hour. Okay, Kit, sleep." "Well, thanks, Ku." With his alarm set, Naruto fell asleep completely. Kyuubi's pav as Naruto slipped into a deep state of dreamless sleep. Kyuubi sent his thoughts to his steward. As he waited for answer to his sending, he wondered how his steward was handling on his lands. Quite well, thank you. I have had only 2 major disputes during your little exile, and they were over matings, came answering thought. Kyuubi chuckled. Observant as always. How are you, Teniak? Have the demon lords been bothering you over my little exile, as you call it? Kyuubi inquired. No, they've been very cooperative over this whole thing. They found it funny that you got sealed into a human babe. Teniak's smirk was quite audible. Kyuubi snorted. They would. So, how is everyone doing? Lovely. Absolutely, disgustingly, fuckingly lovely. They're getting along so well, that the only thing that is entertaining anymore is the god-be-damned jester. They don't have anything to argue over. Teniak sounded so exasperated that Kyuubi had to laugh. That's what happens when you lose the lord that created problems for them. I made half their problem half, they made up themselves. Kyuubi admitted with some amusement. You are an evil creature. The reply was laced with irritation. I know. Hold on for a minute, okay? I need to wake the kid from his nap. Kyuubi sent a thought to Naruto's sleeping mind. Ku, was the sleep-laced reply. Time to wake up, Kit. You wanted to train, remember? Yawn. Okay. I'll get up. Kyuubi felt the Kit's mind drift away from his and the Kit's body moved to get up. Satisfied that he was moving. Kyuubi turned his attention back to his conversation. Since when did you answer to Ku? Was the question he received when his attention was back. I only answered to Kit with that name. Call me that and you'll get a mind blast that will reduce you to the mentality of a shrub. Was the terse reply that greeted him. Understood. Anyway, what does the human child look like? I'm curious to know what human could possibly hold you in his body without losing his mind. Hey, I happen to like my vessel. He has the creativity and love of pranks worthy of a fox. Kyuubi sent an image of the kid to Teniak. It was of Naruto when he was angry with Sasuke for some reason or another. Naruto's eyes were flashing. His short canines were bared. Add the whisker marks on his cheeks and his sun-kissed hair. He looked like Fox. Plus the fact that his eyes were filled with a hollow, empty anger that turned them into cold ice flames that just begged you to jump in and drown in them with lots of agony helped as well. Teniak whistled. I wouldn't want to make him mad. He's just plain creepy. Especially his eyes. They're emptier than a barren desert. Well, he's a good match for your temper. But what about humor? Does he have a happier side? In answer, Kyuubi sent an image of Naruto when he first got a birthday present from old Ray. The small, sweet smile and the pure happiness and joy in his eyes made him look to be the sweetest angel. Ah, cute. He looks really little though. What happened? Kid is younger here. That was when he first got birthday present from someone. I don't have any images where he is that happy and is older at the same time. He doesn't have much to be happy about. Nowadays, Teniak made a sympathetic sound. He knew that Naruto wasn't exactly the most welcome child in the village. Kyuubi sighed and sent a faint thought to see what Kit was doing and to see what time it was. The kid was currently endearing himself to the villagers of this village and he didn't even know he was. He was helping out wherever he could while training himself in patience, stamina, and weight training. He was training his mind with purely mental exercises, reading a thick book, and making sure everything was going exactly where it should. It was also well past noon. Kit, don't you think you should eat? It's well past noon. I know. I'm not hungry, and I'm training so I don't need to eat very often, Kyuubi snorted. Why, may I ask? You're a growing boy. Growing boys need food. If you don't eat, you'll end up not making that growth spurt that you're supposed to get. I know. I need to so I can go into enemy territory and not get poisoned by food or drink. Besides, if I'm going to get through all the villages like I think I am, I'm going to have a few weeks to train in the forest. I won't have many chances to eat. Kyuubi sighed. Okay. I see the point, but it's not healthy to skip meals like this. And eating ramen every day, for every meal is... I'll eat later, Ku. Besides, if I stop now, littles and adults alike will pester me. Oh, I want to start eating things that are healthier for me. That will give me more energy. Do you know of anything that does that without weighing me down? Yeah, ramen isn't all that healthy, fruit, veggies, meat, water, and lots of milk. Those will help give you more energy, without adding weight to you. Eating the meat rare or raw will help even more, but why don't you work down to that? Kyuubi said retrospectively. Well, if you're going to not eat, then I guess I'll show you some more moves to help you ignore the hunger long enough to get used to not eating as much. Kyuubi had to smile at the pure happiness and warmth that invaded his thoughts after that statement. He heard the faint chuckles of Teniek when that warmth and happiness reached him. Anyway, go finish up, and start training. Make sure you train out of sight. Okay. Bye, Ku. Naruto's thoughts disappeared Kyuubi's mind. Cute kid. Really cheerful, and happy when you said that you'd teach him something, Teniek said when the kid's thoughts had faded completely. I know. He loves to train. Even if he wasn't trying to get the acknowledgement of everyone, he's a hyper kid that has a lot of energy. He would train to be stronger and to be with his father, if he had one. Kyuubi sounded very guilty about the death of Naruto's father. Of course, he was the reason for the death too, so it was warranted. So, when will Naruto be visiting us here, in the forest? Teniek inquired. In about 2 weeks or so, Kyuubi replied. He wants to go to the other villages to learn other things than what is taught in Kohona. Cool. I'll let the lords know. Maybe they'll train him. Or they might just make fun of you instead. Teniek laughed. Probably both. Later. See ya. Kyuubi had to smile at the teen-ish goodbye they shared. Demons were just like humans in many respects. Of course, they were different in other aspects as well. Like almost everything that includes physical structure, for one. Kyuubi sat back and watched the kid train, go and talk to Kiria, eat at a vegetarian restaurant, and to bed at Kiria's home. Before the kid could come to visit him, Kyuubi sent a fire technique into his mind. It was called Fox Fire Volcano. A.N. Self-explanatory, While the kid's sleeping mind digested the new technique, Kyuubi set his mental calendar to scream at him when the 2-week mark hit. He wanted to be in and out of the forest before the exams started again. He also wanted to find someone to remove that 5-part seal that was put on the original seal. It was screwing with the kid's chara growth. A.N. How the hell do you spell that? End Kyuubi's POV 2-week time jump. Naruto walked out of the village of hidden sand. He had grown during the past 2 weeks. He was taller by about 3 inches. His height wasn't the only thing that had changed. He wasn't wearing his orange jacket anymore. He wasn't even wearing his black shirt or shoes. These were packed safely in his backpack. His stomach and chest was riddled with rock-hard muscle. His arms and legs were just as strongly muscled. His orange pants weren't orange anymore. Or even whole. They had holes, tears, and patches up and down the entire fabric. And they were covered with dirt, sand, grass stains, mud, you name it. Naruto's hair had grown as well. It now hung over his head protector, around his ears. All the baby fat had been removed from his frame. And had been replaced with muscle. His movements were calculated now. No wasted energy or movement like before. Around his neck, he had tattoos of every village symbol. Every time he left a village that adopted him, he branded the mark of the village into his skin. On his forehead, he had a tattoo of the hidden leaf's mark. His headband hid it, but if he lost the headband, everyone would still know what village he came from. The string of tattoos made a necklace that had a pendant. It was a dog tag that said, "Property of Hidden Village." Every village. On his lower back, right above his very firm, non-existent ass, he had a tattoo that said, "My give a damn's busted." On his hips, a miniature 9 tails, sleeping, and a miniature sand demon, that he didn't know the name to, that also was sleeping. He had a medium-sized gourd strapped to his weapons belt. In the gourd was sand. A.N. Duh. I like to state the obvious, don't I? When he first walked into the village, he was just there to get some provisions. What he got was a gourd of sand and a village that had dotted on him. Naruto walked in the village, after signing in, with a pile of sand following him. He didn't know OS because he had just walked through a desert. Sand, sand, and more sand. After a while, you lose interest in it. Anyway, he walked into the market, going up and down the stalls looking for fruit and meat. The sand followed him everywhere. As he walked, the villagers noticed the sand's strange attraction to the blonde boy. They knew that the sand had chosen him to control and help their demon child. A.N. Hint, hint. So when he brought things, they lowered the total price. One old lady finally gestured him over to her stall. She sold gourds. When he had inquired as to why she had called him over, she handed him a gourd, told him to open it, and to turn around. He did as she asked, and to his very small surprise, the sand that had been following him all day flew up, circled and crested his cheek, and went into the gourd. The old woman told him that the sand had taken a liking to him and will allow him to control it. He thanked her and strapped the gourd to his hip. He then went to the tattoo place and got the sand symbol on his neck and the sand demon on his left hip. He left the village and trained for a day and night in the desert. He then came back, said goodbye to the village. He was now walking to the forest. Naruto was going over his acquired bloodlines in his mind as he walked. Well, he was walking, but no one could see him. He had weight trained with weights that weighed a ton each. So he was really fast. He finished with his bloodlines, new, old and taken, as he reached the edge of the forest. As he stepped in, Kyuubi gave him the full name of the forest. Welcome to the Forest of Demons, Kit. Well. I don't own those original things, I do. You get the idea. Welcome to the Demon Forest, Kit. Well, looks like a pretty nice forest. The evil aura keeps people away. Too bad the aura isn't evil enough to keep me away. Naruto strolled toward the forest with a purpose that was unheard of by the demons. Most humans tried to stay clear of the forest. The only ones that did enter were Maikos, and they only entered when a plant, that grows only in there, is in dire need. Kit, no aura is evil enough to keep you away. I have the most evil aura you'll ever encounter. I am the first demon lord. That means I am the strongest. There was a distinct amount of pride and boastfulness in Kyuubi's voice. Naruto snickered as he entered the forest. The trees swayed in welcome. The whispers of hello rippled to him as he followed the trail. Naruto had been hearing these whispers for a while now, starting back in grass country, and realizing that it was the plants doing it, tried to answer back. He was leaving grass country when he got the hang of it. The trees were delighted that someone could talk to them. Naruto listened to some fascinating stories of what happened in the forest over the years as he walked. Demons didn't bother him as he walked through. For one thing, his scent wasn't human or demon, it was changing all the time. For another, his aura more or less scared the shit out of them. The large innocence in it said that he hasn't killed anyone, but the evil in it said that he has killed thousands and thinks nothing of killing a couple more. Not the most comfortable of feelings to want to investigate. Naruto was feeling a sudden compulsion to head off the path and see a certain tree. With Kyuubi's encouragement, he headed toward where the feeling was strongest. As he neared the source, Naruto saw more demons. They didn't pay much attention to him beyond an acknowledging glance. Not the brightest bunch in the world. Well, they don't think you're a threat. Oh well, the poor human that's not a threat is going to their prodigy, so they need to learn that I am. Hey, don't tell me that. I know. Believe me, I know. As Naruto neared the site of the compulsion, the demons became more and more powerful in the evil sixth sense that Naruto had developed during his travels. Knowing when bandits are going to attack is something that Naruto worked on. Sense of smell and being able to read minds doesn't always work when necessary. The creatures of evil looked more and more human as Naruto went as well. Confusing insert there. Went off track, sorry. The trees were saying that the Lord Tree was dying, over and over again, they said this. They wanted someone to help the tree. Naruto was going to try. He came to a circle of black soil. The clearing was 100 feet around. In the center of the clearing, was an old, tall, dying tree. The tree was at least 200 feet tall, with a thick trunk. The clearing itself was bare of living things, the soil as black as ink. Death was the prominent scent here. The demons were standing in on the outer edges of the circle. Naruto stopped near a dog demon, and knelt down. He reached out to the soil and grabbed a pinch of it. Rubbing it between his fingertips, he closed his eyes and let the evil wash over him. It was trying to reach into him, to take over him, but it didn't get too far and died in the attempt. Kyuubi snickered, hee, oh man. I do love your defenses. You made such lovely booby traps. I know. Naruto smirked. There's a reason for them. Too true. I so can't wait for the backlash when someone tries to read your mind. Naruto snickered inwardly. The soil in his hand had turned back to normal. Brushing it off his hands, Naruto stood up, sizing up the clearing. Feeling eyes on him, he glanced to the right. The dog demon was gazing at him with a mildly curious expression in his eyes. His face was otherwise blank. The demon had long, silvery hair, orange eyes, 2 red whiskers on either side of his face, and a purple, sideways crescent moon on his forehead. He was wearing a white kimono-like thing that had an armor thing over it. Thrown over his shoulder was a fluffy thing that had a pink tinge to it. His shoes were white and looked like they were armored as well. Can you guess who that is? Oh, the 4th Demon Lord. I wondered whether or not he would be here, Kyuubi said, his tone bemused. He doesn't particularly care for anyone but himself and the little human girl he, for reasons known only to himself, decide to adopt. Oh, really? Interesting. I didn't think he was the type to have a fetish for little girls. Kyuubi choked on a laugh. Must have popped up out of nowhere. He seems like the type that likes little boys. Kyuubi started laughing. Dear God. I so want to tell him that someone said he looked like a little boy pedophile. Hey, if you have a way, do so. Just make sure I can hear his reply. Alright. Hey, Sesshomaru. What's up? Naruto saw out of the corner of his eye. The demon start a little. Kyuubi, don't do that. Kimina's dying. But even sealed, you should feel that. Wait, why are you calling, anyway? Sesshomaru sounded very suspicious. Well, I had made contact with a half-demon a while ago, and no, it wasn't your brother, and she had seen you, Kyuubi said calmly. We were discussing the demon lords, and she said that she thought you looked like a little boy pedophile. What? Naruto had to bite his tongue to keep from laughing out loud. I do not look like a little boy pedophile. I don't even like my own brother, let alone a little boy's. Grr, I am so going to kill whoever said that. Sessi-chan looks mad. You think? And he lied. He likes his brother. He just doesn't like to show snickered in a way that Sesshomaru couldn't hear it. Sesshomaru had started growling inaudibly, for human ears, anyway. The other demons had started inching away from him. By the time Sessi-chan, as Naruto had dubbed him, looked like he was going to kill someone, Naruto had decided that Sessi-chan needed a chill pill. Or a water jutsu blasted at him. Since Naruto didn't have a chill pill, the water jutsu was the voted winner. Opening a small pot on his weapons belt, he sent a wave of water at Sesshomaru. Cool blast no jutsu, Naruto said as the water hit one very surprised dog demon. When the water had retreated into its pot, Naruto looked at the now very wet man next to him. You know, growling for no reason isn't very nice. Whatever problem you might have I think might be a little problem that really big tree is having, Naruto smirked, as Sessi-chan raised his clawed hand to end Naruto's life. Just as Sesshomaru brought it down in a killing sweep, Naruto dashed out into the clearing. Moving steadily toward Kimina, Naruto slammed a kunai into the ground. When he was about 15 feet from Kimina, the tree moved, sending roots out the ground to stab at him, throwing branches to crush him. All were moving at blinding speeds, and would have killed him, if he were a normal, non-trained, non-vesseled, non-plant-talking human being. Too bad he wasn't normal, he was trained, he was a vessel, and he did talk to plants. Dodging everything with agility and grace that wasn't normally seen in humans, even ninja, Naruto vaulted off a root, using it as a brace, and drilled through the shield spell surrounding her. Once through the spell, Naruto drove a kunai deep into the bark of Kimina. Sliding his hand down the knife to tough the bark, he sent his mind into the depths of Kimina. Naruto's mind in Kimina swimming his way through the black marsh like mist, Naruto looked for the green-red light that would represent Kimina's mind. Spotting it, Naruto gathered the weak light to him. Sending it energy, he strengthened it to the point where he could leave it alone for a while and it wouldn't die. Having saved Kimina's mind, somewhat, Naruto set out to save her body. He swam toward the area where the most evil was coming from. Sensing a link to another being in that area, Naruto gathered a deadly mind bolt. Once he was close enough to it for it to try to take over him, he sent the bolt straight into it. He felt the bolt travel through the link into the other presence. An ear-splitting scream erupted. Naruto felt the other presence try to send an attack. Pouring energy into the bolt he sent, the scream grew louder with pain. Slowly, the scream died. As it faded completely, Naruto pulled very bit of evil, power, and knowledge that the other presence had through of the link and into Kimina's body and mind. Putting a block on the link that was strong enough to kill someone if they tried to open it, Naruto swam back to Kimina's light. It had grown in strength while he was gone. He added more energy to it, then went back to his body, keeping the link between their minds open. Naruto's body while his mind's in tree the instant that Naruto touched Kimina and sent his mind into her. His body glowed with a silver light. Everything that came at him with the intent of harming him was stopped. If it persisted, it was destroyed. Sand had started swirling around in eccentric patterns, as well. Water was also swirling around, doing a strange dance with the sand. It was a strange sight to behold. The general thought and feeling among the demons was, what the fuck, how the hell was that kid doing that and what was he doing to Kimina? Normal humans weren't able to do that. Sand and water don't behave like that, nor do they get along like that. Something was seriously wrong with this picture. Suddenly, an ear-splitting scream erupted. Many demons had to drop to their knees and clamp their hands to their ears. When the scream got louder, the stronger demons that hadn't clamped their ears, including Sesshomaru, had to do just that. Even though it was useless, as the scream was purely mental. Slowly, the scream died. A few minutes later, Naruto's body began to move. He moved so that his left hand was touching Kimina while his right hand was straight out, giving the impression of a child being patted on the head. The silver glow had intensified. The sand and water, which had stopped their dance when Naruto moved, now had settled on the ground in animal forms. The sand had taken on the form of a fox kid with 3 tails. It had markings resembling the tattoos around Naruto's neck around its neck. On its forehead, it had the leaf village symbol. The water had turned into something like a fox, but had a lion-like mane around its head that was spiky. Its tail was a dolphin's tail. Anyone seen Pokemon? Eevee's water evolution is what it looks like. I don't have a picture in front of me so I can't describe it well. It had the same markings as the sand fox. They were watching Naruto protectively, and everyone else warningly. Back to Naruto. This is in his general perspective. Naruto began pulling all the evil that didn't have the undertone of plant to it out of Kimina into his body. In through his left arm, into his back, out through his right arm. When it reached his hand, it came out as a liquid poison. But instead of splashing onto the ground, it splashed onto the air like it was being poured into a bowl or a bottle. The black coloring to the tree was being pulled away from the tree toward Naruto's hand. As the blackness moved away, the bark gained a greenish tint to it. Once all of the evil was pulled out of Kimina and was out of his body, Naruto had a basketball-sized sphere of black liquid. Naruto began to press on the poison from all sides with his mind. It was condensed into a thicker liquid that was about half of the original size. A bunch of sand flew over to him from the fox to form a bottle around the poison. Once the sand was around the liquid, a white fire erupted from Naruto's hand and surrounded the sand bottle. The sand melted into glass and was sealed with a paper prayer seal. He spent time in a village that trained Maikos. He learned a lot of sealing and unsealing techniques, among other things from there. It isn't a bloodline-related thing, so he had to learn it the hard way. Naruto placed the bottle in his backpack, which he hadn't removed when he dashed out into the clearing. He then began to pull the green from Kimina. Repeating the process of liquefying the poison, condensing it, and bottling it, he removed everything that didn't belong in Kimina. Once that was done, he pulled the burning power inside him out and changed it so that it gave life to plants. He then took some of Kyuubi's burning power that was more demonic and added it to his own. Naruto poured it into Kimina. It looked like ripples on a lake's surface, except it didn't grow bigger. It wrapped around her body and grew smaller towards the center on the opposite side. As Naruto did this, leaves and flower buds grew on Kimina's branches. The flowers bloomed, and died. The petals fell off, drifting towards the ground. They stopped a foot off the ground, landing as if they had fallen all the way down. Kimina was at the correct season now. Naruto removed the kunai from her bark, which was the correct color now. Naruto received a mental thank you caress from the tree demon. He was pleased and somewhat dismayed to hear her speak to him privately. "Little one, thank you. You're human. You don't have a connection to me. Why would you save me? Her voice was aged and mellow, like a grandmother. I do have a connection to you. Through your plant side. I can talk to plants and they wanted me to help you. I didn't want them to be upset, and I don't like the fact that someone was killing you to gain your power and knowledge, Naruto explained. Well, I haven't met a human that could talk to plants in a long time. It's nice to meet you, little one. What is your name, and why do I feel the presence of a demon around you? Kimina inquired. Naruto sent a feeling of warmth to her, in place of a smile. My name is Uzumaki Naruto, and the reason why is because I'm the vessel of Kyuubi, the first demon lord, or so he tells me, Naruto said with a tease toward the fox demon that was quite up till then. Hey, it is true, Kyuubi stated hotly. Kimina sent a smile, warm feeling to them. Hello, Kyuubi. So this is your vessel. I like him. I hope you don't plan on taking over him, Kimina stated, with worried overtones. No, I don't plan to. I like him as well. It would be a shame to lose him. Besides, I can't. The seal won't allow me to, Kyuubi reassured her. As the two demons caught up with things, Naruto moved down to the ground and toward the kunai that he had slammed into the ground earlier. He repeated the poison removal process. After healing the ground and having TD pulling the kunai, out, he released the flower petals that he had been holding up with his mind. Instead of drifting down, they flew over to him. Swirling around him, they softly caressed his cheeks. One landed on his forehead and was absorbed into his skin. The tattoo of the leaf symbol flashed a gold light. Then with a deliberation that left no doubt, the same symbol formed on Kimina. Naruto sent a questioning thought to her. He could feel several other demons doing the same thing. She answered in a broad thought-sending mode, so everyone could hear. This is my thank you gift to you, Otto-chan. You now can control those petals, and use them as a weapon. You can make them razor sharp. Blind your enemies with a shower of them. Her voice was a curse in his mind. You can send one to an ally, saying to come forward or to go back. And if you ever need my or my tree's help, think of me and send some power into your tattoo. I will feel it and contact you to see what kind of help you need. Kimina was very proud and stern in everyone else's mind as she said this. She didn't want any of the other demons to fail to realize that this human was under her protection and that fangs will be felt if he was messed with. Naruto managed to stutter a mental thank you to Kimina in broad send mode. He was shocked and pleased to have such a gift bestowed on him. What he didn't know was that Kimina had given him her bloodline. She could control any tree, anywhere. Now he could, through the petals. They say that he is a dear friend to the tree's demon god, and that he was to be obeyed. The only way I could give him the bloodline, winking face. Naruto walked over to her and sat down at her base, suddenly exhausted. When he turned, he presented a view of his back that wasn't pretty. In a line, connecting his left and right wrists, was a long scar. The scar was a pale pink and looked like shark's teeth that were facing opposite directions. It was going along his arms, crossed over his shoulder blades and connected at his spine. What on earth is that? Everyone thought. What on earth is that? Everyone thought. Naruto sat down and sighed. He was really tired. He hadn't used spirit energy in a long time, and sealing was always harder for him than the spirit attacks that the Mikos taught him. He guessed it was because of the way Kyuubi was sealed in him. Sesshomaru, having recovered from the scream and the unusual behavior of a human, walked stately over to him. Stopping 3 feet away, he crouched down and asked 2 questions. Child, who are you and how are you able to do those dodges when Kimina was attacking you? Naruto looked at him through his squinted eyes with something akin to amusement. My name is Uzumaki Naruto. I was able to dodge Kimina because I'm a ninja. I'm trained to dodge attacks coming from all sides, Naruto stated, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. Sesshomaru narrowed his eyes at Naruto's insolent tone. Naruto, you realize that you are talking to one of the demon lords, correct? Of course I realize that. Naruto was cut off by a rumbling sound and several crashes. Glancing to the left, Naruto watched as someone flew out of the trees. After the dust had settled, Naruto saw that the person that had flown through the trees was a half-demon. He had silver-white hair, yellow, angry eyes, and white, fluffy puppy ears on top of his head. He was wearing a red male version of a kimono and he was holding one huge sword that looked like it was carved from a giant fang. "Inuyasha," said Sesshomaru. He didn't sound very pleased to see his little brother. Inuyasha didn't even glance at Sesshomaru as he answered. "Sesshomaru. I would fight you, but I am currently otherwise engaged." He barely got the sentence out of his mouth when rather large snake barreled into the clearing, heading straight for him. Inuyasha instantly started fighting it. The snake was black and had orange diamond shapes down its back. Every now and then blue flames came out of its mouth. Naruto wasn't overly concerned with the snake, but the flames bothered him. They had a foxy feel to them and it didn't seem to agree with the snake, either. There were burns along its mouth where the flames touched the skin. Extending his mind into the snake's belly, he came upon an irate fox demon. Clearly, the fox was Inuyasha's charge, and just as clearly, he wasn't happy about being eaten. Shippo, as Naruto picked up from the kid's mind, was keeping himself from being digested by sending fox fires at the juices. And that was the snake's weak spot. "Hey, Inuyasha, the snake's weak spot is fire," Naruto called to the half-demon. "That's so helpful when I don't do fire," he hollered back. Naruto rolled his eyes as he pulled himself up. Placing his middle and index fingers together, he chanted in a binding jutsu. The snake froze in on the spot. Once he finished his spell, he reached in him to the fiery area of his power and drew it into the physical area of his body. Gathering it inside his mouth and taking a deep breath, Naruto let go a powerful fire blast that encased the snake. "You can get Shippo out now," Naruto said idly. Sitting down again, a red aura surrounded him. An image of another overlapped Naruto's. As the image grew solid it moved off of Naruto and next to him. Solidifying completely, Kyuubi gave everyone a foxy grin. "Yo! What's up?" The end. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.